There are two wars that Russia is currently fighting. The kinetic one in Ukraine that gets all of the attention, or at least got all of the attention before the Gaza crisis, and a financial one that gets relatively ignored regardless. Even though the West's ruble to rubble campaign does not make for sexy headlines, it is just as important for the war's overall outcome as the battle in the trenches. And arguably, it may be more important right now, as Ukraine's underwhelming 2023 offensive transitions to what Valery Zaluzhny calls a stalemate. In any case, there have been some puzzling developments regarding the economic situation. On September 21st, 2023, the Russian Ministry of Energy, which, for the record, does not have a high-resolution logo anywhere on the internet, did something odd. Most of the major news outlets picked up on it, but I still think it flew relatively below the radar because the macroeconomic implications of it are complicated, and few things put people to sleep faster than the word macroeconomics, myself included. However, it is a harbinger of a deeper economic crisis that Russia has been staring down, while the West's attention has turned elsewhere. Consequently, its implications are critical for how the war will play out. That is why today, after having spent a very long time away from the Russian economy, we are going to return with a deep dive, covering the basics of the oil ban, the weakness of the ruble and what Russia has done to stimulate the currency, the weird way Russia publishes inflation reports, which makes inflation rates like these look fine even when they are not, the incentives to lie about inflation reports, how Russia has tried to mitigate whatever the true inflation rate is, and finally, the deeper logic behind the oil export ban. But we begin with the basics, and why it hints at Russia's deeper economic problems. The short version is that Russia banned gasoline and diesel exports to all countries other than Belarus, Kazakhstan, Armenia, and Kyrgyzstan, essentially the countries that are a part of its Eurasian Economic Union. You may recall that this is Moscow's version of the European Union, and it was former Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych's last-minute switch to have Ukraine join it that led to the Maidan Revolution, and eventually to where we are today. Because Western countries had already placed sanctions on Russian oil, the countries that were most directly hurt by the ban were Brazil, Turkey, India, China, and Saudi Arabia, essentially those that stepped in to cover Russia's supply glut. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, why on earth is Saudi Arabia importing oil? Well, welcome to the fun world of economic sanctions and the sweet, sweet value of arbitrage. Saudi Arabia exports a ton of oil, more than any other country in the world, Russia included. However, some Saudi oil normally stays inside the country for domestic use. This is an important part of the autocratic plan to keep citizens happy. More on that in a moment. But when Russian Urals oil is selling at a $32 discount compared to Brent crude, Saudi Arabia can import from Russia, use that to cover its domestic consumption, and export what is left at full price, with Singapore having become a primary beneficiary. The end result is more money for Saudi Arabia. The Western sanctions regime knows that this happens, but is okay with it, as long as the extra money ends up in the hands of someone who is not Russia. In any case, if the Kremlin announcing an export ban to countries like Saudi Arabia sounds puzzling, well, that is because it is. Flashback to the start of the invasion. Russia had spent the prior 8 years creating a rainy day fund known as Fortress Russia, to the tune of $643.2 billion. Moscow's plan for the war was to use this as a drawdown fund, and use ongoing oil sales to delay its depletion. But the West immediately froze Russia out of close to half of the savings, and then come September, Russia took a timeout from its oil sales. You might guess that Moscow did this to coerce the West, like when the Nord Stream pipeline gas shipments to Germany were cut in half. back when Nord Stream was still a thing. The basic reason Russia instituted the ban, however, is that the country needed fuel. The most pressing issue here was the fall harvest season. If Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe, then Russia is the breadbasket of the world. Prior to the war, Russia accounted for 14.4% of worldwide wheat exports, and ranked third overall in total wheat production, only to China and India. The key difference, of course, is that those two have huge populations. Even at third, though, Russia's 76.1 million metric tons of wheat will not harvest itself. That means there is a ton of diesel-hungry farm equipment sitting in Russia. What's more, it was harvest season. If the wheat did not come out soon, well, winter was coming, and it would all die. Beyond that, there is also the long-standing implicit social contract between the Kremlin and Russian citizens that has defined Putin's tenure. Everyone is free to go about their business as long as they do not interfere in Kremlin politics, and the Kremlin will not engage in adventurous foreign policies that impact the everyday lives of Russian citizens. That is why, when Putin first announced the invasion, it had the Special Military Operation moniker, and came with a substantial under-mobilization of what it probably should have. The rest of the war, though, has strained the believability of that narrative. Indeed, the September 2022 mobilization was the pinnacle of that. But another indication that has not been as obvious to Western audiences is the pain that Russian citizens have been feeling at the pump. Again, though, from a Sanctions 101 perspective, this should be baffling. Europe banned the importation of oil, so the barrels are not going over there. The international markets willing to purchase Russian oil only do so at a substantial discount. You would then think that a supply glut would form within the country, and Russian citizens, who presumably do not see it as politically tainted as the world market does, would happily step in, buckle up, and douse themselves with discount black gold. So why hasn't that happened yet? The answer appears to be inflation and a very weak ruble. For the first year of the war, the Russian central bank's official inflation rates were deeply concerning, and the problem started almost immediately. Let's zoom out for a second. A very rough and dirty way to think about money is as a representation of all of the goods and services for sale a country has. Money has no direct consumption value. Well, unless you are going to burn it as fire kindling or use it as wallpaper, as happened during Germany's bout with hyperinflation. Rather, its value comes from the social expectation that you can trade it for something that does have direct value. This has some complicated macroeconomic implications. Russia invading meant that the West was going to unleash the sanctions kraken. Much of the analysis of the consequences has focused on the Russian war machine. But the problems extend into the civilian economy. Supply chains would soon implode, especially for Russian-made products that relied on Western-sourced input goods. Thus, many of the products that Russian citizens expected to be available for sale, say dice, suddenly vanished. On the macroeconomic level, you had the same quantity of rubles chasing fewer goods. The way the market reacts to that is by increasing the prices to get everything back into equilibrium. What is now 200 rubles used to be maybe 100 rubles. In other words, you get inflation. Actually, the problem was worse than that. At the beginning of the war, anticipating that the value of the ruble was about to plunge, Russians did their best Great Depression impression and raced to their banks to withdraw all of their funds, wanting to either convert them into a currency that could hold value over the long term, or to acquire durable goods before prices soared. The former caused a drop in the ruble's exchange rate, which we will get back to later, while the latter meant that even more money was chasing the same dwindling supply of goods. Yet worse for Russia, this essentially being a traditional bank run, all of the corresponding problems came along with it. Banks were at risk of becoming insolvent because they lacked the liquid assets to simultaneously pay all outstanding debts that depositors held, which would have in turn completely destabilized the entire Russian financial system. And yet worse again, there was a lack of faith in Russia's deposit insurance program, the same type of program that was critical to halting the brief bank scare that the United States experienced in March 2023. The FDIC had things covered, and so the crisis just vanished one day. Russia did not have that luxury. Facing those hurdles, the Central Bank of Russia then made a wise macroeconomic decision. It spiked interest rates from 9.5% all the way up to 20%. This killed two birds with one stone. For one, it gave a strong incentive for people to keep their money in the bank. Moreover, it was a public step to calm the market. That helped solve the meta problem of bank runs, where I want to pull my money from the system because I think everyone else is. And it would be really bad if I am the last one to arrive at the bank, at which point they have no cash to give me. But for another, it pulled money out of the active market, which helped control inflation. It also heavily discouraged people from using credit to buy goods, and then pay the higher interest rate on it later. This is a common tool in monetary policy. When the United States battled its own inflation problem from 2022 to 2023, the Federal Reserve raised interest rates, which helped to tame the inflation problem. In November 2023, the US mark sat at 5.5%. In contrast, Russia had to go to far more extreme lengths. In April 2022, they bumped it to 20%, matching the all-time US high set in 1980. But it worked, with rates slowly trickling back down over the next few months to return to something normal-ish. However, there is an inherent tension here.
Zavrti I osvoji nagrade svaki dan, jer je na sretnom kolu svaki okretaj dobitan. PSK Casino.
When you have high interest rates, substantially more money will eventually enter into bank accounts. At some point, people are going to want to use the excess cash to buy more goods. If the number of goods stays stagnant, we are back to too much money chasing too few goods. In other words, inflation. To counteract that, you need production to scale up. Making matters worse, higher interest rates make it more expensive for businesses to borrow money to invest in production, which risks sabotaging the whole long-term greater production thing. The United States avoided this when the Fed increased interest rates, apparently because businesses recognized that there was pent-up demand and had even greater incentive to invest. I say apparently because, in truth, all of macroeconomics is black magic, and no one is ever really sure about what is actually happening. Russian businesses faced three fundamental problems with increasing production, though. First, profit motive does little when you just do not have access to the input goods necessary for your products. On the other hand, it certainly has encouraged companies to begin the import substitution process. That is, domestically manufacturing the things you used to buy from other countries. But there can be a long lag between starting that process and producing your first consumer goods. Second, conscription policies have incentivized people with means to flee the country to avoid getting sent to Ukraine. Those people are disproportionately entrepreneurial, meaning that some of the businesses that would have otherwise stepped in never got started. Third, the war industry is a brutal competitor. Demand is soaring. Russia needs everything from bullets to artillery shells to vehicle parts for the invasion effort. British intelligence indicates that the military wants to capture 30% of all public spending and about 6% of Russian GDP. The Kremlin will never run out of money for this purpose. As long as the government functions, even if they run out of money, they can still print more money to continue the flow. This is a nightmare for civilian goods manufacturers. All of the raw materials and all of the labor are shifting to meet the military production. That means even less stuff is getting produced, which means prices on what remains go up, which means, you guessed it, inflation. And if we go to Russia's official inflation rates, in the standard way that they are reported, we see something interesting. It appears as though that this has not happened at all as of late. In fact, the reported figures are lower than before the invasion, and are historically solid for a developing country in any context, never mind a war. This, of course, has been met with a hefty dose of skepticism. That sometime in February 2023, the order came down from the Kremlin to report low numbers. From the start of the year, the 11.8% and 11% inflation suddenly became the previously seen 3.5% in March and 2.3% in April, before trickling up in the months thereafter. What is happening specifically with the March drop-off is more mundane, however. Interpreting inflation is hard because we are talking about increases or decreases to a rate of price increases. That is, we are not actually talking about a derivative. We are talking about a second derivative. You can sympathize with why people are not exactly excited to get Februaries to Februaries, Marches to Marches, and so forth. Russia has good reason to publish figures like this.
Hejo.
Inflation has some seasonality.
Hejo.
Think, for example,
Yeah, my
about the
OBS went
differences
out.
between
Are you good? Are
gasoline
you good? Are we
prices
good?
during the summer driving season and the winter,
OBS.
or how prices
I was
change
like,
during the holidays.
yeah.
To control
I
for
feel like
something
working.
like that,
I mean, I
you
don't
would
feel like
normally
working
want to
either.
know how December 2021 matches with
But you
December
know,
2022.
I'm the one here who doesn't have a
But
choice.
this has some bizarre
Hey, Yaman dudes.
consequences when
Hey,
there are
Yaman
random
dudes.
shocks at a single
How are you
point in
doing?
time
How is
that
life
do not
going?
recur
Brought my coffee,
annually.
brought my cola,
Say, like the announcement of an invasion. March
brought my
2023 is
Russophobia.
therefore
So we're
the
doing
first
good.
month
We're
that
doing
compares
good, okay?
inflation data to another full month of the war. Thus, the correct way to interpret the 3.5% from March 2023
I would like to gain a
is that
perspective
prices
on
are
certain
still sustaining
voters.
that massive
Ooh,
16.7%
certain voters and
jump
your opinions
from
on
March
these certain
2022.
voters. What does that
but
mean?
that the increases since then have been relatively
Like certain
manageable. Likewise, February 2023
types
is the
of
last
people
month that compares inflation data
in
to another
politics?
month without war for the most part.
87% feel the
As a
Russophobia.
result, March 2022 to February 2023 makes it look like there is
I used to
sustained
be,
inflation over the period.
I don't want to say I was
But
chill
let's instead
yesterday.
look
I
at the
wasn't
actual
chill,
monthly change.
but I was existing without
Almost all of
interacting
this
with
was
them, you
over
know.
the first 3 months.
And then
From
there was some
February
drama
1st to
on
February
fucking
28th, the total
Twitter.
realized inflation was
Hey,
1.17%.
Daniel, thank you for the sub. Thank
So if the
you.
world's most
Thank you,
expensive loaf of bread
There was some
cost
drama
10,000
and they were
rubles at the
fighting
beginning of
around.
the month,
It was basically
it
one
cost
dude fighting another Russian
10,117
because the
rubles
other Russian
at the end
stole
of the
his
month.
artwork for some book or
Meanwhile,
whatever.
realized inflation was an
And then all the
astounding
people flocked in the comments to be like,
7.61%
oh
in
yeah,
March,
well fuck Russians,
and a
of course
more
they're going to
modest
steal. And then the first dude was like, well
1.56%
actually
in
I'm a
April.
Russian too.
Actually,
And I think your
June,
Russophobia
July,
is not
and August had small levels of
not
realized
appreciated
deflation.
here. It is not
That,
our
in
fault this war
total,
was
put the
happening.
inflation rate for all of 2022
And I
at
skimmed through the thread of like the
11.9%,
worst possible
which is
fucking
very bad
excuses.
in a vacuum.
Got really
But
salty.
all things considered,
Gave
pretty
some money
well
to
handled by
Steranko,
the
went to
Russian
sleep.
central bank. By
Profit.
comparison, inflation rates were 11.3%.
Oh, you started job on December the 1st? I
when
hope it's
Russia
gonna go
faced
great.
international
I hope it's gonna go
sanctions
great.
for
I
the
hope you're gonna love
annexation
every
of
single
Crimea,
second of it. And I
oil
hope it
prices
brings you
crashed.
more cash money
Moreover,
than
it was
any
better
other
than
job
the
you ever worked in your life.
12.9% rate
Okay,
for
I hope the
2015,
paycheck is
when the oil
huge.
market continued
And
to
I hope the
struggle.
promotions are
I
happening
know that
often.
central banking is not very
Working
sexy,
from home sounds
but
like
if
a good
Russia
deal.
ends up
I
securing
didn't really have
something from this
experiences with
war,
it.
we should not
But
be looking
my
back at Russia's
sister-in-law,
military leadership
she is
as
now
the
working
main
from home,
drivers.
and she says
Rather,
it's
we should be
amazing.
looking at the
She
people
says it's a
who kept the
great,
Russian
great
economy
deal.
from
So
falling apart. Of course, all of this assumes
that's life.
that
I
Russia's
actually I was
published
thinking about
inflation
that.
rates are
I think I
accurate.
drink too much sugar because
Unlike the official interest
I
rates,
drink coffee
which
with a lot
public
of sugar,
banks verify
and then I
every
drink
minute
cola.
of every day,
And I'm
it
pretty
is much
sure
easier to hide what is going on.
I'm pretty
with
sure I should
inflation.
get rid of one.
Everyone has their own personal experiences
But, like, I don't
with
want to.
rising prices.
So
But it is hard to calculate your own inflation
we're gonna stay
index
unhealthy.
without sitting down at a spreadsheet. Never mind trying to understand whether your personal rate is representative of
Oh yeah,
others.
remember you said
Furthermore, Russia has three
How was
clear
it? How was it?
incentives
How was
to
it? Something
misrepresent
health
its
related?
true inflation rate.
When it
given
comes to
the current
grants,
context.
but I don't really know how hard the job is, to be completely honest. You looked into some of them? Oh no, which one? Found some good,
First is on
found
the
some good ones.
international side.
Drinking.
Kremlin
Yeah,
wants to
yeah,
project
yeah. Like
strength
I'm
to
on a
the West.
diet.
That
I'm
Russia's
trying to
economic
diet, and
position
today I
is
was like,
just
I'm not
fine.
really sure if
So
my
further
dieting makes
economic
sense, if I'm
sanctions
taking
will
in
not
this much
work either.
calories in
And
sugar
there is little
every
point in
day.
militarily supporting Ukraine as well.
So I don't really know what to
Second,
do.
and related, is the
I could
domestic
chunk
political
out
situation
food,
and
but then I'm
deterring
back on like my
challenges.
high school diet
Kremlin
of,
controls the
basically
media,
just
and
drinking
low
everything in
inflation
and that's
maintains
that.
the narrative that everything
Which
is
wasn't really
going
the
fine
healthiest
with
point
the
I've been
war.
in my life, so I
There
think
is
I'll
no
have to
need
learn how to
raise
drink coffee
questions or
without
start
so much
any
sugar in it.
civil unrest about the inflation issues.
Maybe start drinking
If you
water,
yourself are seeing
maybe.
rising prices, then your experience is unique, like this snowflake. If you try to go out and
Putin,
protest
until
the
I
issue,
see him
you are going to
rotting,
be
I
alone,
will say,
and
I will keep
security
on thinking
forces
he's
might
alive.
make you disappear. Finally,
As long
there is
as
also
the
a
man
practical
is
benefit here
hidden
that
somewhere
has
in my
nothing to
head,
do
he's
with the
alive.
war. More
But also, to be
macroeconomic
fair, I
black
don't
magic
know
incoming.
if
If workers believe the economy is cooking up
How
some
to say this?
inflation, they will
I
begin
don't know if it
seeking higher
matters.
wages so that their purchasing power
I think we are trying
matches
to
what
put a
they
lot of
should be getting
value
from their
in that
labor.
man's life
But
and
then
in that
there is
man's
more
death.
money chasing more products,
But
so
realistically,
prices go
even
up.
if he dies right now,
Inflation.
like, they're gonna
So workers
prop
go
him
back
up like a
and
little
ask for
puppet,
more, and the
those where you
cycle
have like
begins
little
anew.
wooden things to make them
This
move.
problem is
They're
known
gonna do
as the
that, and they're
wage
just going to
price
continue the
spiral,
war.
and
It's
is
going to be
something
like,
that
oh
central
guys, Putin
bankers
tells us
want
to keep on
avoid.
fighting.
With
Oh,
all
we
of
gotta
that
keep
in
on fighting
mind,
now.
the
And
Kremlin's
Russians are
public
gonna be like,
actions
kill
to
kids
halt
up.
inflation raise questions
And they'll just go
about
to the front line.
stability
Like it's,
of the political
I don't think it'll be a
situation.
change if he
In
dies.
September, Putin said
Lowering
that
risk of
inflation
diabetes
is
in
making
local
it
municipalities.
impossible
Oh,
for
that's actually
businesses
cool.
to invest.
Oh, that actually
At
sounds
the
really, really
time,
strong.
The latest
Nice. I
year-over-year
hope you're very,
rate
very
was
successful
looking
on that.
relatively good at 5.1%.
Complete
And the
freedom of speech was a
non-annualized
mistake. That is true.
month-over-month
That is
rate
true.
was 0.28%.
No, definitely.
And total
There's
inflation for 2023 was projected
there's
to
certain
be
things that should be punished.
5.55%. If these
Certain
figures
things
were
some
true
streamers
at
are
the
doing
time,
being among them.
and it was indeed practically
It's
impossible
stupid because they
for
just
Russian
cause
businesses
fucking
to function, then shudder to think of
dumbass
what the
conversations to
pre-war
be brought up in the
situation
first place.
looked
One of
like
them is
in
a Hamas
2021,
supporter, but like
when the total
not a
yearly inflation
Palestinian
was
supporter, a Hamas supporter.
8.39%.
The one
Never
who was
mind the
the
aforementioned
Hassan's mod or
2014
something.
and
That's the one I
2015
remember. That's the one I
figures.
last learned
But
about
with
as like a
inflation
new
rates on
streamer
the
existing.
rise once again, the central bank announced
like, what?
that it was raising interest rates to 13%
Yep.
on September 15th. That did not solve the problem. September's inflation ticked up to 6%.
No,
and
if you use them.
projected
Oh, the
final
problem is that they still
2023
send
rate
meat waves.
moved to
As long as they're sending meat
6.13%
waves,
in sync.
it's
This forced
it's an
Russia
issue
to
because
bump the
Ukrainians
interest
are
rate
dying.
to 15% at the end of October.
It's like, will they manage to
Russia's official,
occupy
but
the
not
whole of Europe?
finalized
Probably
October
no. Will they
inflation
manage to
figures
occupy the whole of
show it's
Ukraine?
still
Probably
getting
no.
worse. To put this in
But
context,
every single
US
death
inflation peaked at
that happens as a result of
9.1%
this
in June
is a death that
2022.
Russians will never
If we
manage to
take the Russian figures at face
No.
value,
repay.
then the 6-something% does not
They will
seem
never,
so bad.
in no way
The
will
real
they manage to
concern
pay
for
this
the
debt
Kremlin
off.
is what happens
If for
it
the
keeps
next
climbing.
500 generations Russians have to pay
Undeterred by
reparations
those
again and again and
15%
again and
interest
again, they
rates.
will not manage to fix
Indeed,
the mess that
the
they have
central
created,
bank's
and that's
own framing
fucking
of the problem
heartbreaking.
does not shy away from the underlying issues that Russia's economy faces. Shifting our focus to the public's response. When inflation is bad, one
You keep
of the
open source
solutions
client,
is
and
to
only
move your
comments I
money
found is you
into a
can't log
more
in
stable
and press
currency.
like button.
That takes us
But
to the
imported my
ruble's exchange
229
rate,
subs without
which
problem.
tells us
Oh,
the important story.
oh,
At the
nice.
beginning of the war, the central bank and
I
the
need
Kremlin
that,
took
and then I need
three
to figure out a
important
way to
steps
put
to
it on
control
stream
the
as if it's
problem.
normal YouTube.
First was the implementation of capital
Best Ukrainians and
controls.
West Russians, yeah.
Russians
You have like
faced
on
a
one side
strict
people
limit on
volunteering to
foreign
save their
currency
family,
withdrawals.
and on the other side
The
people
government's
volunteering to go
intention
rape.
here was to make it difficult for dollars or
So,
for
you know.
euros to become the de facto payment method within the country. Second,
Yeah, no,
along
man.
with that, domestic lenders were banned from using foreign currency for
Israel,
loans. Prior to
I
that,
think it
lenders
depends
preferred to deal
on
in currencies that were more likely
what keeps
to
on
retain
happening
their
with this,
value
basically.
when the loans came due.
I think it depends.
Yes on dollars, yes on euros.
There is an
Rubles?
amount of
Not so much.
response that
After
we
the
are
ban,
going
though,
to see
lenders
as
did not
justified.
have much of a choice. it became
That's one thing. There's
rubles
another
or
thing.
nothing.
But there's an amount of
Finally,
response we are going to
Russian
see as
companies that
justified,
dealt in foreign currency,
and I'm not sure with all of the
primarily
news
Russian
coming
energy
out and all of it
exporters,
being very
had to
sketchy.
convert
I'm not sure
80%
how
of it
close we
into
are to that.
rubles. Combined,
How
these
close we are
steps
to like
all
walking
kept
over the
ruble
line of it
looking
not being
healthy,
justified
at
anymore.
least
That's
on
the
the
first problem. The
surface.
second problem is
At
that
the end of 2021,
I'm
again,
not
before the invasion, 100 rubles
I'm not
bought
certain
$1.30.
Israel would be against
That value plunged to just 70 cents on March 10th,
investing in
2022,
Gaza.
2 weeks into the war.
It's
Yet
like, oh,
by
we
June
make him pay
30th, it
reparations,
somehow
but
soared
they
to
would probably be
$1.80,
GG with
apparently
putting cash
50
money into
cents
Gaza
better
to,
than before the
push
war
more
began.
settlements in it, especially
However,
because they are the
exchange
ones who
rates
now
can
want to
be
be, how
deceiving.
did Netanyahu
Below
say
the
it?
surface,
Security of
no
Gaza
one
is going to be
wanted
up to the
buy
IDF
rubles.
for a while. It's
The
not going
three
to be up to
strategies
Palestinians
had
at all.
merely strung the currency's value along. But
Like,
the
I'm pretty sure
attritional
they're already
shift
going
in
to be
the
taking
war
some cash money
ensured
from
that all
taxes
of those
to
short-term
build
fixes
settlements in
would
Gaza.
turn into long-term
Yeah.
problems.
I'm pretty
And the
sure that's
ruble went
going to happen.
correspondingly downhill starting in December
Are those reparations? Not
2022.
really.
By the beginning of October 2023, it was
But it
down
is going to be
$1.01,
financially taking power over
losing
the
about
pot, definitely.
28% of its pre-war value. Though by November it had partially rebounded to $1.09.
Israel will invest a lot of money into
And that
Gaza
takes us back
after they
to the
destroyed
oil
Hamas.
export
Only
ban.
way to stop another terrorist group. But
Imagine
that's
that you
too.
are
That
a
too. That too.
business
That too.
that produces a commodity.
No, I am
Local
skeptical about
customers are
Hamas being
attractive
destroyed, though.
because you do not have to pay
I am
to
fucking
ship
skeptical about
commodity
Hamas being
very
destroyed,
far.
especially
You
with
just produce it, sell it,
with the amount
and
of
keep all
civilian
of the money for
casualties
yourself.
possibly happening.
Well,
I know we
guess
don't
this
know
is
the
Russia,
exact
so
numbers,
shipping distances can be enormous.
so this will be
The point is that you are not dealing with international borders.
interesting to find the
so everything
specific
should be
numbers
easier.
on.
However,
But
local customers can
I don't know,
only
the more
pay in a
civilians
currency that is
you
suffering from
kill in
rampant
these
inflation.
attacks, more
The
you
good
are
news,
in
though, is that
danger
your
of
commodity is global. As long
other
as you can
Hamas
get it out of
forming.
the country, there will be customers for it everywhere.
Lots of
Even
other
better,
countries will pay for
the
rebuilding
foreign
Gaza.
currencies
I
those
actually also
customers
do
are
wonder
willing to
about
pay
that. I wonder
have
if
strong
Netanyahu
exchange
stays
rates
there.
relative to the local
Are we going to
currency.
be paying?
The slight bit of bad news is that geopolitical
Because I
forces
imagine
are
if he
not
leaves,
happy
I
with your
imagine if
country
he,
right now.
if the IDF
So you
goes
will
back,
have to
we
sell
might
below
be.
the market rate.
But like if they want to build
But still,
settlements in
the
Gaza
choice
to
is not
basically
even
make it
close.
Israel
You
territory,
need to
I
go
don't
abroad.
know
One of two things ends up happening.
if European
Either
Union would
domestic
be
fuel
demanding
prices
them
soar
to
return
not.
the system to an equilibrium, or you end up with fuel shortages,
New
with
Israeli
more
settlement
people
was
wanting to
approved near
buy at the
Gaza.
listed price than what is supplied. Under normal
well.
circumstances, Russia makes a
That's gonna be
damper
interesting.
payment
It's
to
going
oil
to be very, very
companies
interesting.
to keep their products in country, and thus maintain
So, you know,
a
for
high
European
domestic
Union, it's like
supply.
it's gonna be a question of
But the war is causing the federal budget to explode,
yeah,
and so the finance ministry
how we make
halved
sure
the
money
damper
goes towards the
payments in
people and
September.
not weapons.
You can
It
see
is
where
one of
this is
those things
going.
where it's like
All of these problems combined to put the Kremlin
I can
in a
understand
tricky
the
situation.
arguments that they are
If
making.
there are two things that set the average citizen's
At the
rage
same
meter to
time, it's like
max. One is touching government retirement programs.
there's gonna be some.
Putin has direct knowledge of this, stemming from a failed
How to say this
2018 pension
in a soft
reform
way.
plan.
There's gonna
This
be
expression from
some
a televised
horrible
address
shit
where he
happening.
pled his case says
I'm
it
not
all.
really. I'm not too positive about the way Israel is treating.
Jackpot je preko 1.200.000.
And indeed,
The way
aftermath
Israel is
was the
treating
last time that there was major
Palestinians.
social
I
unrest
don't
in
think that's
Russia.
going to be fair. I don't
But
think we're
number
going to
two
be
on
having a
the
jolly
rage
nice time.
meter is surging fuel prices.
Yeah,
Putin
and there's
again
no
knows
proper
this.
third party. That's
It
true.
was
That's true.
central to the Nord Stream plan
Hamas
to force
turned
Germany
hospital into a
to
military
accept
base.
Russia's
So that yeah,
planned
they had like a
annexation
whole.
of Ukraine.
It was a whole
Under the threat of
what's the word?
skyrocketing natural
Tunnel
gas
there, right?
prices.
Have you seen the one?
The irony is that Germany
I
has
remember that
moved
video
on
of that car.
with the
Did you
installation
guys see
of
that? We
liquid
saw that on
natural
stream,
gas
right?
terminals.
There was a car, like a
Russia
destroyed car
is
on the
now
street, and then you open
tackling
the
the
door
same
and there's a
issue
Hamas
alone.
tunnel there. Was that
Facing
real?
smaller damper
It's in my mind
payments,
sometimes. I'm
the
like,
oil
nice.
companies
I wouldn't see
simply
this.
chose
I wouldn't
to
see this if
flood
I
the
was
international
walking down the
markets,
fucking street. I wouldn't
which was
know.
now possible given the logistics built over the prior
How
year
many
plus
voters do you
of
think
working
actually
around
vote
the
for a
West's
party
sanctions.
because they like what's
The
in their
Kremlin's
political
solution was
manifesto?
an export ban.
Compared to
Keeping
how
the
many
oil
people
in
vote
country
based upon the
eliminates the
mainstream
shortages,
media's agenda
lowers
and
market
whoever their
prices,
parents voted for.
and of equal
Oh,
importance, eases inflationary pressures. The
when it
problem
comes to
is that
parent
doing
voting,
so
I
is
don't really
not
think it's having
economically
much
efficient.
of an impact, to be
Fuel
honest.
prices were not so out of hand in Russia.
I
so as to
think
make travel
I think we
impossible.
kind of moved
Or
away
perhaps more
from,
importantly,
just
they
following
did not
along
make harvesting the wheat
whatever our
prohibitively
parents voted for.
expensive.
Now,
After
the
all,
agenda,
the
I
growing
don't,
part of the farm work was
oof.
finished.
I think
Whatever costs
mainstream
went into
media
making that
agenda
sweet,
is
sweet watermelon
competing
were
with
already
social
sunk.
media agenda.
The question was whether to harvest
And I
that
do think
massive
it creates a
breadbasket
lot
of
of
wheat,
people who vote
or
based
let
on
it all
vibes.
die by winter's
Like, it's
drought.
definitely, I think, a problem.
It turns out
People
that
genuinely
oil
don't
prices
vote for
would
a
have to
party
rise
because
to an implausibly high
they like
level
what's in their
before the
political
latter
manifesto.
is
They
the
don't know the
better
policies
choice.
of parties,
Rather, this
right? They
boiled
don't know what the
down
party
to
is
a
actually
cash
doing. They're just
transfer
voting
from
based
oil
on vibes.
companies to the
It
average
reminds
Russian.
me of the current
Zooming
situation
out
with
through the
USA people,
motivation, it
where
seems
they
that
don't
the
want
most
to vote for
vocal
Biden.
groups of
Lots of
would-be
them don't want
analysts
to be
of
voting for
Russian
Biden
domestic
because
politics
Biden is not
fall into two camps.
good enough at
One
calling
that
for a
insists
ceasefire
that
in
Putin
Gaza,
has no
right?
domestic popularity at all.
Now, what's
And
interesting is
another
that this is
that
a
is
lot of
certain that it is
progressives.
literally impossible for Putin
A lot
to
of
lose
progressives
office
are being like,
under
yeah,
any
I'm not gonna vote for
circumstances.
Biden
Yet the
because he's not
truth
calling
is
for a
somewhere
ceasefire.
in between. We have discussed
But like,
before
are you
how
aware
there
what's the
seems to
alternative?
be little evidence that survey
Are you not
respondents
aware who
were
you're
lying
bringing in
about their
power if you
enthusiasm
don't
for Putin, at
vote
least before
for a
the war.
person whose
At the same
policies
time,
are
however, Putin cannot push
better
policies too far
for you,
without angering the
unironically
masses.
fucking better for you.
See
You know what I
again the
mean?
pension reforms,
Like I saw
or the
people
exodus
explaining
of
this to
fighting
Americans, like
aged
they're
men
little
after the
fucking
September
children.
2022
So the whole thing
mobilization
with like,
announcement.
oh yeah,
The
I'm
oil
not gonna
export
vote for
ban
Biden.
appears to
Just
be
like I don't want to be
recognition that the
complicit with
Kremlin
whatever
has
he's
to
doing, right?
appease domestic
But you are
constituents,
complicit
lest the
with,
political situation at
in
home
the worst
become
case, Trump
untenable,
getting in power.
thereby
And
forcing
I'm pretty
Putin
sure
to
we all know
vacate
the
his
harm
office.
Republicans are
The
doing
good
in
news for
USA.
Ukraine was that it
How
meant that less oil
you're
money
just not
was
voting
going
based on
to the
spite.
war
You're not
effort.
actually looking at the outcome.
But
You're not
there is
actually
the
looking at the policies
possibility
you're
of
supporting.
better
You're not
news
actually looking
for
at who you are
Ukraine,
allowing in the
in the
government.
form of what it
You're
signals
choosing
about
to fuck
the
up your
broader
country based on
domestic
spite and spite
tolerance for
alone.
the
It's
invasion
just a stupid thing.
inside of Russia. We have
But I think the
discussed
same thing is
before
happening
how
on
Ukraine's fall
media.
2023
Like I spoke to
strategy
some Croatians
appeared
recently.
predicated on the
It's not even
belief
just
that
Croatians. Like I
Russia would
remember
not
chat people
mobilize
being
again.
kind of dumb on this.
The oil ban suggests that this
Full
was
offense.
a good wager for Ukraine.
But
One
the thing with
imagines
like,
that the
oh yeah,
Russian
I'm not gonna vote
population's
for
adverse
leftists because
reaction to
leftists are
spending
bringing
more
in the
rubles
global
for
homo.
transportation
Oh yeah, I'm not gonna
would
vote
be
for
small
right
compared
wingers
to the
because right
consequences of
wingers
seeing
support
Putin on
racism,
TV
you know, stuff like that. And it's
announcing
like,
another round of
that's
conscription.
Twitter.
If the Kremlin does
That's
not want
that's
to
Twitter.
deal with the former,
That's not how it
then
works.
it is
That's
less
Twitter.
likely that the powers that be would
From a
want to
European
deal
perspective,
with the
are you from
latter
the UK?
either.
Yeah.
That said, at least
From a
for the
European
export
perspective, a lot of the
ban,
times I feel
policy
like
did
people
not stick
watch what's
around
happening in
forever.
USA with
Russia
Democrats and
still needs
Republicans,
oil
and then they
sales to
vote for
fund the
creation
war.
left or right based on
Once
this.
the harvest season ended,
And
winter
like, it's
began to
making no
set in,
sense.
and
It's making
domestic
no sense.
demand tapered off. Then the
Boris
war purse
Johnson?
took
Because
precedence
they watched a
once
funny
more.
compilation of him. Oh, we have the same issue with our
Russia
president right
eased
now.
the ban at the beginning of October to refill its
I liked
war
Boris
purse,
though. Boris was
allowing
strong on
companies to
Russia.
export up
Boris
to half
had
of their
balls
diesel.
when it came to Russia. He
But
was
that
good
also
on
came
that.
with reinstituting the damper payments.
Most people
mitigating
have
the
one certain
effect
point
on the
that is
purse.
most
That
important,
is
like
$4
supporting
billion
Ukraine or immigration.
that cannot go toward
And they
the
just
war
vote for
effort.
whoever is their favorite in
Now,
that
in
category.
contrast,
That too.
If you have
That
$4
too,
billion
that too. I feel a
in
big
your
part is that.
book budget account,
Yeah, like
why not
choosing your
check out
priorities.
what caused the Russia-Ukraine
I
war
do
to
think
learn
there's a
more about
problem
the
with
invasion?
them though,
And
not.
if you enjoyed this video, please
It may be
share,
a local
and
thing that I'm
subscribe.
experiencing
And I will
because
see
we
you next
have
time.
Croatia has this
Take
thing
care.
where we like HDZ as our leading. I don't know if they are right wingers. Hey yo, Demi! Thank you for the cheers. How are you doing? We have HDZ as our leading right wingers, and there's a lot of love for them in the country because they were the first, strong party we had after gaining independence as a state. And there's this thing with people voting for them, even if they dislike their policies. I know a man who is now a war veteran. He was a defender in the Homeland War, right? Because the system is corrupt, he gets no benefits. He gets nothing. Man is literally getting nothing from the state. He's barely surviving, right? He still votes for the same party. It's like his one defining thing when it comes to who he's gonna vote for is just what the party is, regardless of any policies that the party has or like issues that they're talking about or whatever. He just cares about what the party is. So he is okay with going around shitting on the party left and right, but he will never vote for someone else. He will just vote for the party. So I think that's a big problem too. They don't have a political platform or agenda. They got votes just for being a party. I feel like sometimes that can work. Zelensky, for example, didn't have agenda, right? Zelensky's entire shtick was being different. So I think it's okay sometimes. I think this can be done well. It is a bit dangerous, though. It opens the doors to populism. Any of these parties without a defined agenda, without defined policies that they would be supporting, to me, they're kind of sus. I wouldn't trust them too much. It reminds me of Most in Croatia, because we had Most, and Most betrayed every single vote that they had. So they fucking sucked, okay? So maybe be careful. Maybe be careful. Okay, make sure that people you are voting for are not playing you. Israeli Likud Party, I like football fans. They will vote for them no matter what. Yeah, same here. It's like no matter how horrible the policies are. By the way, since we're talking about UK, we gotta look into Cameron, okay? We gotta look into our man. I'm not too happy about him coming back, but let's see. Where was I? Yeah, it's like here with HDZ, genuinely. Shut up. So the whole thing of, oh yeah, we're going to vote HDZ, no matter what HDZ does. Even if HDZ does something harmful, even if HDZ does something bad for us, even if HDZ takes away our social benefits that we are supposed to be getting because we defended Croatia in a fucking war, right? Still, they get votes. They just keep on getting votes. It's a ridiculous thing, but they keep on getting votes. Thatcher. Hey, I've never actually understood what's up with that woman. Unironically, I've never understood what's up with that woman. I still don't really know what she was doing. I feel that's one of those parts of politics which a lot of other people seem to have a lot more knowledge on than I do. The toughest ones are the populists. And if you're European right now, you're fucked. And you got a lot of them in your government, and you have to do something about this. And you likely don't know what to do something about it. So that's going to be second.
To you by Belroy. Today, David Cameron makes a shock return.
Hello, British dude.
In Sudan, and the Pope sacks an American bishop who'd been one of his strongest critics. From TLDR News, this is your daily briefing for Monday, the 13th of November.
Tito sexuality was a meme thing we started on the channel because I'm trying to push things into talking more about Yugoslavia, because I've learned lots of Westerners don't know what Yugoslavia was. But yeah, Tito sexuality means being attracted to qualities displayed by former revolutionary and also president of Yugoslavia, Josip Broz Tito, which is trying to make something useful out of the dark lands of Balkans, hating Soviets, getting into lots of debt, and then dying before you have to pay it off. When I debate with people where I live, their opinions are just filled with cliches and buzzwords they hear and see from TikTok. Yeah, definitely. Oh, definitely. Like I heard people in Croatia, in goddamn Croatia, saying that they're not gonna vote left-wing because leftists are using all of these neo-pronouns and it's destroying society. Like what? What? My dude. So, yeah. A lot of them do base their opinions just on shit they read around, and they don't base it on any sort of reality. Like we had one of our politicians recently reading a speech in the parliament. You guys remember when I talked to you about our feminism thing? We had it, it was like when Istanbul Convention conversation was happening. A huge damage to the cause was done by one of our politicians who goes on to some sort of an interview thing. I don't remember what it was. She's doing this interview and they ask her why she thinks women are being treated badly in Croatia. Now, we here have shit laws. we still have not changed our shit laws, okay? We are letting people get off easily for rape cases because, how was that quote? He refused to accept her refusal. So because he refused to accept her refusal to have sex, he should get shorter sentencing. You know, stuff like that. We are a shit country with shit laws when it comes to women. She could have used any of the examples of millions of examples we had in our previous history to point out why Croatian laws need to change. What this woman did on live TV was that she blamed it on white cis men in Croatia. White cis men. The damage that the cause has taken never been fixed. Never fucking been fixed, okay? We stopped, I think, any sort of a serious conversation about the Istanbul Convention ratification almost immediately. Never again were we able to have a serious conversation about this. We're having the same situation right now. We had some sort of a debate in our parliament over the aid to Gaza and how Croatia feels about aid to Gaza and about its relationship with Israel. And we get a woman reading from a paper and she's like, oh yeah, the reason why Croatia is not sending enough aid to Gaza is because we are a part of a global West and we want to be exploiting other nations for our own colonial gains. Like, never. We're never coming back from this. We're never fucking going back to this. I swear to fucking God, even the people we had in government who were proper at calling for more aid, they're going silent now. They're going silent now just out of the shame. So, Opportunism and conceding to popular opinion for votes? What? No, that's populism. That's something I'm against. That's something I'm against, if I'm understanding your comment properly. We're focusing on bullshit issues and bullshit solutions, not on the actual issues taking place. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, social media I do think is a big problem. I would say social media is a bigger problem than mainstream media is, to be honest. But that might be because I don't really see mainstream media pushing as desperate of an agenda. At least here. It might be different in your countries. But here, I work, like part of the things that I'm selling IRL at my job are newspapers, right? So I go through them almost daily. They're not nearly as deranged as things you are going to read from Croatian political commentators online. Newspapers are relatively mild when it comes to news, even when it comes to Croatian state news. So we got HRT 1, HRT 2, both of them Croatian televisions directly funded by taxes and directly controlled by the government, right? Even they're not nearly as dramatic as I see Croatian people on social media be. Like when it comes to these white cis men and Croatia being part of the colonial empires, it's stuff that I see online. It's stuff that I see Croatian Twitter users saying. It's not something I see ever like in newspapers. Newspapers and news are just kind of mild. Oh, I don't really think considering yourself a liberal or leftist matters in any sort of a way. It's a conversation I think is useless to have. I think it's a useless conversation, and I think the last few months, even years, in online politics have definitely shown us that to be true. Like people will be calling themselves leftist, for example, and they support Milosevic and his joint criminal organization in ethnically cleansing the lands of former Yugoslavia. You know? Several times, like yesterday, just I've shown you the viral screenshot ongoing of like Hillary Clinton forcing Bill to bomb Serbia. Know how many leftists are in the comments siding with Serbia? You side with the aggressor? There's several states right there which were used by Serbia to gain more taxes, so Serbia could be upholding their idea of, Yugoslavia standing strong and Yugoslavia being basically a vassal of Serbian imperialism. And you're siding with them as a supposed leftist, you're siding with them, you're siding with Milosevic. I don't think there's a way for you to genuinely be what we would consider to be a leftist and to be siding with Milosevic, right? What I think it is that a lot of people, especially those who place a lot of value in these words, they will choose to call themselves leftists or liberals, or given, I don't really think you have this on right-wing too much, because right-wingers, I think, are a bit less about jerking off from their high horse and more about just being very stupid. But people place a lot of value in these words, and it's like they use them as a shield to have shit opinions. You know what I mean? Like, so many leftists online calling for stopping the aid to Ukraine. How the fuck are you a leftist, a supposed leftist, and being complicit with this going on? And even, I don't know how much you've been into online spaces in this, but so many anti-imperialists have been calling for stopping the aid to Ukraine. People are genuinely incredibly dumb. I don't think any of these words are useful. I think whether you identify with any group, for me, that's useless. If you want to have conversations on our political opinions, I think you must be able to present me with your political opinion specifically, and we're going to go based on that. But I don't really give a shit if you consider yourself a leftist, because I've met lots of leftists who are full of shit. It's basically a right-winger. They just call themselves leftists, so they have a reason to jerk off on their own little delusion of moral supremacy. So I don't really think any of this matters. Hamas, the aggressor, are being supported by the leftists. Yeah, they so often forget about Palestinians. That's also a horrible thing, though. They forget about Palestinians. They just focus on supporting Hamas, the terrorists. And in the same way, Hamas has dealt a lot of damage to the Palestinian cause. These leftists are also dealing damage to the Palestinian cause. How do you not see it? How do you not see what you are doing? How in the world do you not see you are conflating civilians of Palestine with Hamas terrorists? How are you not seeing this? Come on. Just come on. You can just have a normal opinion on this. Holy shit, why is it so hard? Dealing damage to the leftist cause? Yeah, that too. So that's why, that's why I don't really take it seriously. I don't care if someone identifies as a leftist. I don't care what you identify as. I care what your policies are. I care what goals you want to see brought to reality. And I don't really give a shit about what group you identify with. Because I think a lot of people, trying very desperately to fit into these groups are not proper representatives. It doesn't matter. I could say, yeah, I identify as a leftist, and it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't change my opinions a little bit. Oh yeah, supporting Russia, absolutely. Not a leftist, I'm a Marxist? I'm not really sure how I feel about that either. Libertarian? I still can't quite grasp. It's like a solely USA thing, isn't it, libertarians? I can't grasp the fuck they are, to be completely honest. Full of images and identity, but no substance or action. It actually reminds me, it's a good comment, yeah, it reminds me, I don't know if you've seen the Twitter discourse happening over this. Let me try to find the specific comment. But it was basically two people fighting. And one of them is like, oh guys, let's go and let's do something useful when it comes to the current political situation. Okay, so we're gonna vote for these people specifically, and we're gonna be voting for these politics, and we can be lobbying for these people to get into more power so we can see some changes happen. And a Twitter user responds with like, no, the whole system is bad, and you should actually be working on dismantling it. And the response they get is like, okay, well, what are you planning to do? What actions would you be okay with taking? and they make a list, and the list is so fucking useless. It's like, I remember one specific thing on the list being boosting voices. Like, the fuck do you think that means? It's all just buzzwords. It's all just buzzwords and useless terms that you have taken from your TikTok videos and you don't even think about them, nor do you actually attempt to do any action to bring them to reality. Libertarian? Used to mean anarchist, libertarian, socialist. Still used in that way in a lot of Europe. To be honest, I have unironically only heard about it on twitch.tv. Genuinely. Camera's appointment. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan because Cameron, along with Obama, was among the people who betrayed Ukraine back in 2014. So I'm not too happy. Not very pleased about the fact he is back into power. I have seen, though, lots of people having quite positive opinions over this. I've seen the strongest thing that informs my opinion of this is that I've seen Lithuanian politician being happy to be working with Cameron. So I trust Lithuanians. And I trust their politicians quite a lot, especially the ones that I have been following so far. Maybe there's a chance to have some sort of meaningful cooperation. Maybe. I don't know, but maybe. I think choosing between the right wing or the left wing of capital is useful. Yeah, see, you are exactly the type of a person I'm talking about. What do you do instead? Like, there's a voting day, you don't go to vote. Okay, you don't go to vote, you don't want to participate in the process. One person is still going to be chosen as the leader of your country, or a party leading your country, depending on, voting for what we're talking about. Your representative in European Parliament, correct? Someone's still going to get the spot, someone's still going to get a victory. But you don't participate in that. Okay, what do you participate in? Going to Twitch? Is that what you do? You're like sitting on Twitch and complaining? That's the amount of your activism? Because to me, that just sounds like the idea of like, oh, I don't think choosing between the right wing or the left wing of capital is useful. To me, that just feels like an excuse to be useless. That's the way I'm seeing it. Because most of you people do nothing. Most of you people are sitting on your asses doing absolutely nothing useful in the real world. And it's a useful excuse, isn't it? To be like, oh yeah, well, everyone is the same, so you don't want to make a change anyways. Everyone bad. Okay, what are you doing to fix this? Are you getting politically engaged? You're trying to fix the system from the inside? What are you doing? You're doing nothing. You're sitting on your ass being useless. That's what you're doing. Which on one hand is a good thing, because to be fair, if you're a Marxist, I would much prefer you sitting on your ass and not voting. So I'm not really against it. I'm not gonna complain about it. The system is perfect. Even if we had communism, we'd still have to participate. I don't really think people go too much into the idea of what happens under communism that much. It reminds me basically. I think Wash made this comment where he was like, "Oh yeah, all of these people who want to dismantle society." They work on this mindset that building a new society from scratch is like one of those games, those games where you like build a city. So you start with something like simple and then you upgrade, and you just keep on upgrading and adding more people and that's it. But like any sort of more complex topics are not really something that they go into, like voting being one of them, for example. I don't really think they care too much to think about how democracy is practiced in a society like that. I don't really think they give a shit too much. Yeah, see, real change comes from the direct action of oppressed groups rather than seeking concessions from the ruling class. What are you doing about that? What action specifically did you take to bring real change? What specifically did you do in the last, let's say, few months? What exactly? I don't have an opinion on anyone, and I especially don't use buzzwords from TikTok. I've discovered recently politics is way more in depth than I once thought. Oh, that makes sense. That's I had that awakening when I first looked at politics outside of my parents' view on things, because my parents are really, really anti. I want to say anti-political. They despise politicians. They don't go out to vote too much, so they're not actually too harmful for the cause, which may be good because they tend to lean right-wing sometimes very strongly, which is very problematic. But I remember first time when I actually looked into politics without, their views behind me constantly, and I was like, okay, some of these decisions actually make sense. Why are they choosing, both of them at the time, they were choosing to sit in front of the TV and watch news about politics and just scream at politicians and how stupid they were, and sometimes the changes brought were genuinely good. We're talking about people who would be watching news about a reform in the educational system of Croatia, introducing informatics as a new subject in Croatian schools. And they would be just like, oh yeah, well, this is stupid. This politician is just doing it to get votes. This is stupid. Bro, it's a good change being brought. What? Why are you attacking them for doing something good? What are we doing here? It's such a desperate way to find reasons to be useless in the system and to not get educated on this. Alex Jones, I despise them. I despise conspiracy theorists overall. I think they are a rot on society. I don't know if there's a way to fix that. I don't know if there's a way to get rid of them. But I despise the influence they're having. I absolutely fucking hate them. It has created this whole subculture among young people. I don't know if this may be more so of my local problem. I don't know how big this is in the rest of the world. But what we have here is a whole subculture of people being like, oh yeah, voting is useless. It doesn't matter if you vote left or right because the deep state's going to win at the end anyways. So they have this whole idea of mysterious people who are actually controlling our countries from the inside. And y'all know which religion, which ethno-religious identity these mysterious people supposedly fall into, right? I think it's horrible. I think the idea itself is horrible. I think conspiracy theories are just pieces of crap. Them and the grifters, people like Hinkle, for example. I despise Hinkle so much. I think they're genuinely doing horrible damage to our societies, unironically. So yeah, I think it's a big problem. I don't know how we could ever solve it. It's one of those things you can't, misinformation spreading in media. What do you do about that? It would be really hard to write a law properly so you control this properly, almost impossible, but it is a real problem. And Boris Johnson was supplying guns to help Ukraine. Some people are just like, well, why doesn't he help people in his own country first? No matter what they do, they can't seem to win. Yeah, definitely. No, Boris was loved in this part of Europe. I don't know if you know, but in Eastern Europe, he was adored. I was genuinely sad when he got out of UK politics. And I know it was good for UK. I know you people weren't really a fan of him. It's just that, man, someone that hawkish on Russia is hard to find in Europe these days. Okay, he was a strong fucking man. But yeah, it's if you help a country, a victim of a foreign invasion onto their soil, if you help them, you're doing a bad thing because you're helping them. If you don't help them, then you are complicit with genocide and you should be seen as bad again. If you help people in your own country by introducing more social policies, then it's oh yeah, well, you're making people pay too much tax for others. But if you remove the social policies and if you remove the social safety nets, then it's oh, you're not helping enough, so people are living in horrible poverty. And you can't do shit. You can't do shit. It promotes that communism will inevitably come with progress. Therefore, Marxists can keep talking about late-stage capitalism and doing nothing. Oh shit, okay, fair. That too. Conspirators are not all-powerful and are just human. Yeah, that too. It sucks, genuinely, it sucks because I it's such a lazy way to engage in any of this. I see it as the same lazy way to engage with any of this, you know, when you are a member of a... Someone mentioned, by the way, political iceberg. Do you have good videos on that? But it reminds me of, we've taken a look recently on stream on all of these little weird political identities existing in online spaces. You know, like anarcho-primitivism and shit like that. And to me, the way I'm seeing it, making up these groups is a way for you to have a reason to stay useless. That's the way I'm seeing it. It's like you make up this little political identity group, which is very, very specific for you. That's you trying to be useless. You know, you will never have any actual representative of your opinion in any sort of serious politics, because it's such a non-popular but also vague fucking view that you will forever be able to just claim you're not being properly represented, so you don't have to go out and vote. So you just sit on your ass and you do nothing. Again, all of this is about people sitting on their asses doing nothing. I would argue voting is convincing people in politics. I would argue voting is that. If you choose to do nothing, that's a choice in itself, which leaves the outcome to someone else. That too. Waiting for next Gandhi or Lenin or Hitler to take the stage? Oh, absolutely. And then, like, you know, there's decades of progress that you are allowing to just pass you by because you're choosing to stay useless. It's a stupid thing. You have no idea how someone votes. Has no effect on your opinion. I mean, are we talking... You have no idea how someone votes. It has no effect on your opinion. When you say someone in that situation, are you saying that, like, we have no idea how people around us vote, so we can't affect them to vote more responsibly? Or are you saying, oh, if I never tell you my politics and I just vote, you'll never know my politics? Oh, that is true. That is true. That is true. I still don't think you can be convincing people into... Maybe not... Maybe it depends on, like, which policies we're talking about. Maybe it depends on which opinions we're talking about. But I think it's definitely possible to influence people based on this. Give speeches, get elected yourself, set up community events. Yeah, definitely. There's so many things you can do. We have whole things here where you can volunteer for democratization of society. I was a part of these volunteering attempts a few times. It was fucking great, you know, but it's trying to push people into being more involved, trying to push people into being more invested. Works great so far. The European Union is, I think, doing great things with making people stay more educated on what's going on currently, at least in some political spheres, so they would be able to know when funds are being given, whose politicians are the ones granting you these funds, you know, shit like that, how you can vote to see more of this happen in the future. They're also very, very good at getting young people into politics, I think, especially. I think we should be encouraging something like this, especially, like, I support teaching politics in schools. Don't know how you people feel about that. I think starting first grade we should be teaching children about politics. Very simple politics, of course, but they must be knowing what's going on. Must have no idea about politics and only care for themselves. That's true. Not to mention that, like, unironically, by the virtue of being in Twitch, by the virtue of having some sort of debate rot inside your brain, you go IRL, I'm pretty sure you could change the minds of, like, at least 5 fuckers just during today's day. Okay, just during today's day. I've tested this out at work, actually. So I told few people that I'm looking into politics, that I have fun looking into politics. It reached a situation where right now, unironically, they're fucking asking me my opinions on news when they happens, and I feel they're just parroting whatever I say. By the virtue of me being a fucking Twitch brain-rotted person, okay? They've never taken too much time to think about any of this. I remember when they first came to me with, like, the UN resolution conversation, Croatia opposed the UN resolution calling for ceasefire in Gaza, right? Now how easy it was to just speak to these people and to convince them that no, it was actually okay that Croatia voted against because the resolution didn't condemn the Hamas attack at all, and you must be condemning terrorist attacks. Know how easy that shit was? Like, you actually could have real influence in the world. You actually could be pushing people into doing more research and into, you know, thinking more about stuff. It's just that I think lots of people choose not to because it's easier to sit on your ass at home and never change anything in the system. Schools teach politics now, but they teach it extremely biased. I don't know if they do, but also I don't know which school you went to. But I want them to learn about what democracy entails. I want them to learn about what the responsibilities of every single citizen in the democratic system are. I want them to be aware that no, you can't just step out of the system. By the virtue of you being a citizen in democracy, your opinion matters and your actions matter. When you don't go out to voting, you're not fighting the system. You're a fucking part of the system. It's going to continue. You're not voting literally doesn't do anything. Literally nothing. You could do more of a change by getting into politics yourself and by creating your little anarchist bullshit party and then getting a few votes rather than you sitting at home doing nothing. You're so fucking useless. You're choosing to be so goddamn useless. And I want to push kids out of being useless. Shouldn't know anything, just sat there and listened. My brother, same thing with the conversation about refugees and immigrants in Germany. Man was fucking hateful. We had a half-an-hour conversation. It got fixed. He never thought too much about it. He never fucking thought too much about that thing. I brought him up the fact that not all immigrants are refugees. Man was mind blown. Know how easy it is to speak to most people. It's like most people genuinely they don't put a second of thinking into their political opinions. They just kind of vote based on vibes. Most people around you can mold them into someone at least analyzing politics a lot more in just a few minutes of a conversation. Which I would, by the way, encourage you to do. Push people into analyzing shit. Just push people into analyzing shit, okay? It's the most honest way you can be approaching this, and I feel it's the way that has the most benefits. Just push them into thinking about this. It works great. If something doesn't directly impact the person, the less they care about the situation, like politics and voting, they feel like there isn't much of an incentive to do so. Yeah, the problem is that I feel they think something doesn't directly impact them, but it does. They just don't understand the way it does. Because it reminds me of like all the people we have in Europe these days, you know, bitching about, for example, the immigration crisis. But like, that's something your politicians could be working on if you chose proper politicians. Come on. Like, well, how are you bitching about the issues in the system all the time? But then at the same time, when you have a choice to vote for someone who is representing whichever opinion you would actually like to be represented, right? You don't vote because you're choosing to be useless. How do you expect change to happen? Come on. Oh yeah, protests are based. Protests are the best thing you could do. Organize protest and go to protest. The best and most useful thing you could be doing in a democracy. People hold on to their political beliefs like grim death, whether it's well thought out or not. Oh, I haven't really seen. I would agree you have people going really defensive. Maybe that's what you're talking about. I do agree there are people going really, really defensive over this. So they have their little opinions, and then you bring out an alternative opinion, and they get personally offended because you have an alternative opinion, right? What I found usually, and this is something that I've observed with close family too, and especially a lot of times when the COVID vaccination thing was a big point of conversation. What I've noticed is that they will get offended, they will refuse to have a conversation on something, and then, like a week later, they are on the right track. My mother did this, for example, for a very long time. She was very anti-vax, very, how did they make up How did they figure out how to make vaccine for COVID this quickly, but they didn't make vaccine for cancer yet? So I've taken one afternoon and I was like, Mother, do you know what cancer is? Mother, can we have a conversation about what exactly you think cancer is? And what happened in the span of that conversation is that she got pissed off. She refused to speak to me more. She basically did the whole thing with like, oh, you pretend to be smarter than everyone else. The usual boomer shit, you know. A week later, we're watching some sort of news. There's one of our dumbest politicians, by the way, genuinely a dumb man. At one point, they like filmed him walking through a city, and there was one of those, you know, the traffic lights, and you need to press a little button, so the light turns green, so you can cross over as a pedestrian. He was standing in front of that one, and he didn't know what to do. So he goes on TV and he's talking his mad shit as usual. And one of the things that he says is, well, why don't they have a vaccine for cancer yet? And my mother from the couch goes, oh, he is stupid. He doesn't know what cancer is. And I was like, oh, nice, you know? Like, come on, it was cool. Russia, Ukraine doesn't impact me. I just want peace. Yeah, that too. Like, come on. I just want to not be having wars. Yeah. We solve that by giving aid to Ukraine. That's how you solve not wanting wars. Come on. Just because someone saw a political sticker he didn't like on a fence and he removed it. Oh yeah, I think that's tribalism strongly. People see stickers of like the opposing political party and they immediately start hating you for showing off your allegiance to the political party. And then in the first place, you showing an allegiance to the political party is like a weird thing overall. It's just we're making this into very childish thing, and it's.
In a political shock this morning, David.
Oh, protests are based, by the way. I disagree with the idea of protests and economic growth don't go hand in hand. I disagree. Protests are based. I support protests. I support protest as a tool of democracy. Absolutely, fully. I do think that a nation that is prepared to go to protest to see their values defended is a nation that is standing strong. I learned about what's up with the pig fucking thing like yesterday from Twitter. So yeah.
British politics.
Very British, isn't it?
Secretary, more than 7 years after he resigned as Prime Minister, having lost the Brexit referendum in 2016. Cameron's return comes
You still don't know.
Launched by Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who sacked Suella Braverman as Home Secretary after days of speculation about her future, replacing her with James Cleverly, who moved over from the role of Foreign Secretary, which is now being filled by David Cameron.
What did James say about Ukraine? Because I remember that last name. He said something. Confronts Russia over atrocities. He said there was mounting evidence of Russian atrocities against civilians in Ukraine. Okay. Reaffirmed UK support for Ukraine. Okay. Okay. He said as winter sets in, Russia is continuing to try and break Ukrainian resolve through its brutal attacks on civilians. Okay, so he's okay. He's okay. UK Foreign Secretary James Cleverly says the international community's unified opposition to Russia's war on Ukraine is sending a powerful message to tyrants around the world. Yeah, true. Okay, fair. Proper point. I'm okay with the man.
As David Cameron isn't a member of Parliament and hasn't been for 7 years, in order for him to serve in cabinet, he's been urgently appointed to the House of Lords. Now, while it's rare for a Secretary of State to come from the House of Lords and not be
Game of Thrones
MP,
shit.
it's not unprecedented. Under Gordon Brown, for example, Peter Mandelson served in cabinet while being a member of the House of Lords, and Margaret Thatcher's Foreign Secretary, Peter Carrington, was a Lord rather than an MP too. Now, regardless of the exact protocol, by bringing back David Cameron, Rishi Sunak will be hoping to achieve a number of things. Firstly, the hope likely is that Cameron's tenure as Prime Minister will give him some diplomatic weight and respect as Foreign Secretary, while
First of all, do you think innovation of a society is measured by the amount of Nobel Prizes they have? Second of all, you think Jews as a group are somehow uniquely non-open-minded? Is that because they're religious? Are you one of those like weird anti-religion folks? How, like, you made two premises. You need two premises to be true in order for your comment to make sense. I'm not seeing either of them. Thatcher is despised where I'm from, but she's very well received worldwide. Yeah, I've never really understood why she's so hated. Who said I'm anti? Well, what makes you think Jews are somehow uniquely non-open-minded? Like, what makes you look at Jews as a group and go, oh yeah, these people are so close-minded, no chance that they have these innovations because of open-mindedness, because they don't possess open-mindedness. Like, your comment makes no sense. Iron Lady, yeah. I've never really understood why she's so hated. Because here we kind of, when she's brought up as a person doing something good. She's usually brought up as a person who like very strongly controlled the situation, right? So blamed for the closure of the workers' mines, and thousands of Brits lost their jobs as a result. Oh, so like, okay, that makes sense. On an economic basis. Here it's mostly like, oh yeah, she brought control into the dark lands of UK, so we support her for that. When people mention her, they usually mention her in the context of, oh, our society is kind of shitty, we should look at Thatcher and what she was doing in UK at the time, and maybe we should copy some of her policies. Oh, we can. Let's see. Let's settle into one definition and then see what happens. Let's settle into whatever there is. The quality of being willing to consider ideas and opinions that are new or different from your own. What makes you think Jewish people are uniquely non-open-minded? For it to be weird that they have the most Nobel Prizes, which aren't even, that is not how you measure innovation of a group in the first place. But let's just jump away from that and settle into this one. Why is it weird that Jews are having the most Nobel Prizes? Either loved or hated, no between. Oh yeah. Fucked everything, really? She's not so hated since they did a Hollywood movie on her. I have not seen it. That's kind of sad. 65.4% of Nobel Prize winners were either Christians or had a Christian background. Oh, great. So it's not even correct. Great, even better. Even fucking better. This is cool. Genius opinions. Nice.
Also potentially signaling
that was a useless
that
fucking
Sunak
conversation, wasn't it?
shifting back towards the centre right, having tacked more toward the right with cabinet members like Suella Braverman, who came from the more hardline right wing of the party. Sunak may also be hoping that his perceived centrist shift will satisfy traditional conservative voters in the so-called Blue Wall in southern England, who have been increasingly successfully targeted by the Liberal Democrats.
Assassination attempt on her by IRA? Holy shit, no.
Controversy. Commentators were quick to point out that Cameron left office
Oh, crap.
under a bit of a cloud, having gambled by calling a referendum
Ignorance
on
on
EU
what?
membership, which he subsequently
Dinosaur?
lost, prompting his resignation. He was also implicated in the Greensill lobbying scandal, and in recent years, during his time away from politics, caused controversy by championing investment for a multi-billion-dollar port project in Sri Lanka, which formed part of China's Belt and Road Initiative. Nonetheless,
now, if I were in my car, I'd look at that space and go, that's too small, and then I'd go find another. But that's not what a French person would do. There's nothing extreme about this maneuver in France. This is how you park. You would see this any day of the week on any street in Paris. It's actually for precisely this reason that the Renault 5 was the first production car in the world with deformable bumpers. Has my car stopped moving? Yes. Am I close to where I want to be? Yes. Well, then I'm parked.
This actually makes me wonder if they genuinely do this because it's Frenchies. Like, it seems wild, but also it's Frenchies. Do they live like this? I wouldn't be surprised if they do.
Cameron is
After
happy
10 days,
to
he
be
was pretty beat up.
returning,
Oh,
saying that
shit.
while he may have disagreed with some
Because of
individual
parking?
decisions by
Were you
the
doing
incumbent
this?
Conservative
Maybe
government,
that's why.
he believes that Rishi Sunak is a strong and capable prime minister, adding that he's looking forward to helping to deliver the security and prosperity our country needs. Now, there's more on the way, but be sure to subscribe and ring the bell.
No, I will
to
not
make the
subscribe.
daily
Show me.
briefing.
Great, they show me the ad. Cute. Cute. There's no god in this universe.
To listen
Thank
on.
you. No, I will not.
Next up, the UN is warning of a
He's doing the world news thing again. He did this yesterday too when we were. What?
In other news, Australia has signed.
Where's
a
Taiwo?
bilateral
Where's
pact
Taiwo?
with Tuvalu, aimed at countering China's influence in the region, while also protecting the tiny Pacific island nation from the effects of climate change. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says that the agreement makes Australia Tuvalu's partner of choice and requires the two parties to consult before signing defence and security pacts with other countries. Now, that's likely in reaction to the fact that China somewhat recently signed a security agreement with the nearby
So be careful
Solomon Islands,
with that car, but it caught
sparking
mysterious
fears in
bumps and
Australia
scratches.
and the US
Frenchies.
they were losing ground to Beijing in the Pacific.
No, the
Notably,
Dandelion. No.
this new deal will see Australia
When you say Jews holding maximum Nobel Prizes, when you said that previously in your message, I want you to elaborate on it. I want you to elaborate exactly what you meant by Jews holding maximum Nobel Prizes. Australia East expansionism. Heck yeah!
Australia creates a new visa for up to 280 people to settle in Australia from
Like, you're not
Tuvalu,
just
which
moving
is
away
up
from being
and rising.
anti-Jewish in my chat, my dude.
Albanese said that it will be regarded as a
You're not just moving
significant
away from that
day
shit.
in
I need you to
Australia
acknowledge
that we
that what you said was
are
wrong.
the Pacific community. And with
You
that
ain't
comes
just
the
switching the
responsibility.
conversation.
Albanese also recently visited China.
Didn't even get
first
an extra
Australian
fee.
Prime Minister to do so in 7 years, signaling an improved diplomatic relationship between.
Where's Gigi? Where's Gigi?
However, Pacific
Open-mindedness
expert
and
Graham
religion are
Smith
different.
of
Different but
the
not
University
mutually
said
exclusive.
that the
What did you
strategic
mean about
defense of
Jews
Pacific
holding the
is not
maximum
going
Nobel
forward
Prizes?
because of this. Moving on to the Vatican, where in an incredibly rare move, Pope Francis has dismissed American Bishop.
He could be
Joseph
talking
Strickland,
about
one of
when
his
compared
fiercest
to the
critics
size of the
from his
group,
Texas
how many
diocese.
Nobel Prizes they
Now,
have.
Catholic Bishop
What would that be, like per capita? this list may... No, I want a specific list. I want a specific list. Here it is. Is this a proper list? Please be a proper list. Holy shit. No. What the fuck are these websites? What the fuck are these websites? Why is every single one I'm getting just absolutely shit? Religion of Nobel Prize winners. See? 21. 21. Like, what do you mean maximum? What do you mean maximum? Maximum would mean they get like 100%. What do you mean maximum? Oh, that would be interesting. Nobel Prize winners by country. Yeah, 411. United States, then United Kingdom. Actually, this goes into supporting the idea that if you would say that that open-mindedness is what creates innovation, and innovation somehow you have connected to Nobel Prizes, which I still don't see the connection between the two. But this actually goes to support the idea that open-mindedness encourages innovation, which makes a group get more Nobel Prizes. Yeah, even per capita. Luxembourg, Sweden, Switzerland, Iceland, Norway, Denmark, Austria, United Kingdom. All of that makes sense. All of that makes sense. We're talking about open-mindedness. All of this makes sense. Free thinker? Like, I don't even know. I don't know if I'm going into the conspiracy definition or into a proper one. Epistemological viewpoint, which holds that beliefs should not be formed on the basis of authority, tradition, revelation, or dogma, should instead be reached by other methods such as logic, reason, and empirical observation. Oh, one of those things where it would help if you knew how to analyze things through the lens of philosophy. Yeah, but even like relative to the population, unless you are one of those people with not really a lot of religious literacy, but relative to their population, it means nothing. Jews are an ethno-religious group. Different Jewish people have different things that they believe in. They have different views in the world. They have different opinions, more or less controlled by religion, more or less secular. It means nothing. It's also it is kind of interesting though that like that was where your mind first went to like the amount of Jewish people who hold Nobel Prizes instead of just going towards the amount of religious people in the first place who hold Nobel Prizes. Like I think I hope you understand why I'm seeing you as a sus little person, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Because you went later and you were like, oh yeah, well, religion can't really coexist with being open-minded, which is something that I disagree with entirely. But also, why focus on Jews? Yeah? Not the real ones. Yeah, that's why I'm not taking the idea of like Nobel Prizes being connected to innovation in the first place. I'm not really taking it seriously because there are several different Nobel Prizes and they don't really have to be counting for innovation in the first place. Make no sense. Shnemenko in teens was making Russian rap. Oh shit. Still remember the first time I went on Wikipedia of that man. Remember going to his Wikipedia and Wikipedia being like, oh yeah, they did murder attempts on him. They did murder attempts on him. They tried to kill him and then he managed to defend himself by killing one person. Like, damn. That man has lived a life. That man has fucking lived a life, okay? This is one of those people who go into old people's homes when they're 90 and they have stories to tell. They have millions of stories to tell. That's gonna be Stamnenko. European Union combined has about 414 Nobel Prizes, which is 3 more than the US. Congratulations, Europe, congratulations. Per capita, we're doing better. Now, how open-minded are we compared to USA is a good question. No, Vatican.
So Strickland, who at 65
What
is
happened?
10 years away from the usual retirement age for
Oh yeah,
bishops,
he got rid of a
being
priest.
dismissed in this way,
Bishop.
suggests that he refused a request from the Pope to resign. Strickland, who was appointed by Pope Francis's predecessor, is something of a hero among conservative US Roman Catholics and has been deeply critical of the current Pope's more liberal
Hey, Mike, I have a
approach
question.
to make the church more
Is there a
friendly to
popular
the
movement in
LGBTQ+
UK to
community,
return to
as well
European
as
Union?
attempts to give more
Or is that
responsibility
European
in the
Union
church to
copium?
lay people? Back in May, Strickland tweeted that he believes Pope Francis
Sure.
is the Pope, but added that it is time for me to say that I reject his program of undermining the deposit of faith. A few months ago, Pope Francis rebuked what he called a very strong, organized reactionary attitude that had developed in the US church,
Heck
and
yeah.
had warned against ideologies replacing faith. The statement announcing the dismissal of Strickland didn't give a reason. However, Strickland's diocese of Tyler, Texas, had been under a Vatican investigation into its administration, including financial affairs. In some final uplifting news, deforestation in the Brazilian rainforest has fallen to its lowest level in
Vast
5
majority of
years.
people
According to
regret
Brazil's
voting to
space
leave
research
after the
agency,
fact.
INPE,
Oh.
in the 12 months to
Understandable.
July 2023,
I thought it might have been getting
9,001
better in the
square
last few
kilometers of Amazon rainforest has been
months.
cleared. A drop
I wasn't
of
really
more
looking
than
into
22% from the
UK
previous
politics
year,
ever since
and the
Boris
smallest
left.
area cleared since
I know you
2018.
had that
Those 12
woman
months also represent
being your
the
prime
last 6
minister
months
for
of
like
Jair
a day.
Bolsonaro's
I don't
presidency
know.
and the first 6 months of Lula da Silva's.
But yeah,
And that's important because Lula pledged to clamp down on the deforestation that had increased significantly under his predecessor and has committed to zero deforestation.
TLDR, I wish.
Although that goal does remain
I
an
wish,
uphill
I wish.
battle, according to Brazil's environment minister. Now, when it comes to our journalism, you clearly expect us to provide high quality and responsible reporting. But shouldn't you also
Can you
expect
ask
the
confirm
same
proper
from
history?
the products you
For
buy?
7 or 8
I certainly
generations that
do,
you are pure
and that's why
Aryan.
for the last few years, I've been exclusively using wallets,
I'm pretty
photos,
sure.
and passport
I'm pretty
pages
sure there was
from Polaroid, which is why I was super excited to hear that they wanted to
How to say
sponsor
it?
some of our videos. As
You know how they started? They started with the idea of ethnic cleansing of some groups specifically, and then the amount of groups that they were killing has just broadened over time. Like what we had here is that Ustaše at first were killing non-Croat population of Croatian lands. So they were killing Serbs, they were killing Roma people, they were killing people who were like technically the outsiders to the nation, right? But then they started killing Croatians who were not healthy. Croatians who had health issues, Croatians who had bad genes. And then they started killing Croatians who disagreed with what Ustaše were doing. So it got worse and worse and worse because they gave themselves the excuse to kill more and more and more and more people. I think that's what it is when it comes to like confirming proper history. I think that's what they would be doing next, you know? It's like, okay, everyone right now agrees with what the government is doing, but we still need to uphold the reign of terror. So what we start doing now is like we start ethnically cleansing everyone who is not pure enough. Holocaust on Croatians? No. The other way around. During World War II, part of Croatians was allied with Nazis. We had Ustaše. Ustaše were Croatian Nazis. Here it is. So we had these. It was the other way around. Croatians were trying to do not Holocaust, because Holocaust is a specific term, but Croatians were trying to do genocide of Serbs. So yeah, luckily didn't work out too well, because Tito then came into power, organized his partisans, went in, fucked up Ustaše. So there was, we fought against it quite strongly. The partisan military of Croatia was really, really big and really strong and really successful. But yeah, we were kind of pieces of shit for a very, very long time. Part of a noble family, or rather German aristocracy. How do you prove the family line 8 generations back? The thing is, you can't. So because you can't, they have a reason to get rid of you if you don't properly listen to their views. That's the magic of it, isn't it? No one really can prove their history 8 generations back. Morning cringe. Hey, we're doing well. We're doing well so far. Which Croatia won the World Cup? Same. We would have been good. We would have been good. Man, we could have been great winners. I still remember, was it 2018 when we got second place? We celebrated more for getting second place than Frenchies did when they got first place. They were scared. What was Serbs doing beforehand? Nothing. Existing in Croatian lands. We just were very desperate about having a nation state, basically. Cameron is interesting. Cameron is interesting. The whole video was basically like, yeah, interesting that he's coming back. What's his name? David? David Cameron. Interesting. He's back. It's going to be interesting to see what he does and what sort of an effect he has. But he seems okay-ish. He seems okay-ish. He did betray us in 2014, though. So I need you to pay attention to that. I need you to remember that, okay? He betrayed us in 2014. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how successful his existence is going to be now, but yeah. What we're doing so beforehand. That was a funny reaction, by the way. Like, hey, Croatia attempted to do ethnic cleansing of people in their areas. Well, what did those people do to deserve it? I actually have a video on how the far right took over Croatian Wikipedia. Don't know if you want to see that, but like, since we're talking about Croatia, and I need you to be thinking about Croatia regularly, because we are going to be taking over the world soon, I'm gonna show you this. I think I even told you about this previously, but we had big issues with our Wikipedia being very Nazi. In big part because we allowed it. We allowed it. We were GG with them editing articles for a very, very long time, and no one was really paying attention. Why the fuck is it like down, counting down, and then it doesn't count down properly?
We are probably interacting with the English language version.
Yes.
It contains the largest encyclopedia of gathered knowledge.
You know how big of a drama this was in Croatia?
However, growing up in a non-Anglosphere nation, odds are you're going to be using your own language-specific version of Wikipedia as you're developing your ability to read and write English. For some, the English language Wikipedia version is never going to be very accessible, as they're often afforded the opportunity to learn English. This is especially the case for the country of Croatia. A lot of websites cite a 2019 Eurobarometer report that concludes about 60% of Croatians speak English. I wasn't able to find the exact source for the citation, as the national report that I found was in Croatian, a language that
Okay, fair. 31st research they did on Croatia. There was 3,511,000 citizens older than 15 years in Croatia at the time of doing this research, and the research was done on a representative sample which encompassed 1,013 citizens of Croatia. At the time of doing this research, United Kingdom was still a member of European Union.
we're given the opportunity to learn. Note that this 60%
Oh, they're going through like politics.
poll, and most numbers that you'll see like this have been sourced in completely different ways, so aren't really comparable across nations. But this 60% figure means that a significant part of the population of Croatia is unable to access the wealth of the sometimes dubious and sometimes good knowledge on English language Wikipedia.
Wait, falsified? What is falsified? I am confused. Okay, I'm seeing nothing in the replies to
without,
explain
of
to me
course,
what I'm looking
resorting
at.
to imperfect machine translation software.
Coastline grabbers,
Luckily,
we
they've
deserve
got
it.
Croatian language Wikipedia, which, like its sister sites, is maintained by volunteers doing a thankless job of trying to edit articles and provide access to somewhat reliable knowledge to a broad
True.
reader base. Well, they have it now at least. Between 2011 and 2020, Croatian Wikipedia was a fucking problem.
It was.
In 2013, the Croatian newspaper Jutarnji, which I'm probably butchering, published a story written by Professor
It says Jutarnji, it means morning. It's like morning paper. Jutarnji
Pavic,
list.
which I'm also probably butchering, who I think now works
Pavic.
at the economics faculty at the University of Zagreb. In this article, the professor exposed the fascist takeover of
Also
Croatian
butchered
Wikipedia.
the r.
According to the professor, the slow march through the institutions of Croatian Wikipedia began in 2009, as a small group of less than 10 anti-communist administrators of the site began to consolidate power by purging wiki editors for holding moderate or liberal views on controversial issues.
Yeah, by the way, that's true. This is why I feel it's kind of useless to be choosing a group you like in politics, and especially to be bringing this group into like international conversations. But yeah, in Croatia, anti-communist people tend to be, I want to say, almost center. Like the way he is presenting this, I find it to be interesting because he said anti-communist as like the main defining view, but anti-communism in former Yugoslavia, apart from Serbia, is just a normal opinion. It's, I believe, very similar to anti-communism in, if you would take former USSR states, for example, it's seen as a normal thing. There's other like strong views that you may be taken as representative of the right-wingers overall, specifically the racism and xenophobia being, you know, pushed into the spotlight. But anti-communism, I feel it's one of those things where, like, if you're in USA and you know an anti-communist, then you know he's kind of like sus. You know he's a bit sussy. You know he's thinking of himself as a big patriot, stuff like that. When it comes to lands that actually lived through countries that were wannabe communist states, anti-communism is just normal. It's just a normal fucking opinion to hold. You can't really tell someone's policies just based on that.
As of 2009,
Jurica.
the Croatian wiki was undergoing a slow fascist coup. The Wikimedia Disinformation Assessment report on the subject found that the purposeful manipulation of content on Croatian wiki had been ongoing since as early as 2007. It got so bad that on
Unironically, by the way, impressive. So many Croatians had internet in 2007. I don't even know what to tell you.
September 13th, 2013, the Croatian Minister of Education had to come out and say, regrettably, we must warn Croatian
Serbs are
students
more
and pupils that much of
interesting.
the content on Croatian version Wikipedia is not only dubious but also evidently falsified. Although
His name and last name sound like Serb, so I'm not trusting him. Serbs are GG with communism because Serbs see communism as something that was upholding Yugoslavia, and they see Yugoslavia as an imperialist project by Serbia. So Serbs are okay with communism mostly, even though for them too it's, how to say that? They don't hate it. They don't support it either, because communism, at least the way it was supposed to be done here, communism was against these, you know, big ideas of a nation state, which is something that Serbs were really, really into at the time. So they don't like the ideology of it, they like the aesthetics of it, because the aesthetics of it allowed Yugoslavia to keep on standing. Switzerland got 2.8% of Nobel Prizes despite having 0% of the world population. Yeah, that's true, that too. But like it also, the thing with focusing on the Jews, when you have Christians being a huge group which has won a bunch of Nobel Prizes, like why focus on Jews specifically? Why, what in the world? Oh yeah, religions are closed-minded and then you choose to focus specifically on Jews? That's not you just being pissed off about religions, that's you being a bit sus.
all the efforts of this small group of fascists likely had an effect on pretty much every aspect of Croatian language Wikipedia. The
Sure.
most egregious stuff concerned the promotion of conspiracy theories regarding socialist Yugoslavia and whitewashing the collaborationist Nazi puppet regime, the so-called independent state of Croatia, which was headed
True.
by the infamous Ustaše. One
Oh, fuck, I
genuinely
have to
insane
show you a
thing
thing.
they tried to push, according to the Wikimedia report, was the idea that Hitler invaded Poland in response to Polish genocide against Germans. Another wonderful highlight was that the Croatian language article on the Jasenovac concentration camp was mostly concerned with disputing the numbers of victims. This camp represents the only such extermination camp operated by a collaborationist regime purely on their own accord for the purpose of exterminating Jews and other ethnic groups. As late as 2019, the article on the concentration camp claimed that this was all Yugoslavian propaganda, quote, aimed at denigrating, stigmatizing, and silencing Croats, to cultivate a constant sense of shame inextricably linked to Croatian national consciousness and to taboo every thought of Croatian independence.
See, like that, that's what they do. It's like they're not going to do denialism of our crimes too openly, but they do this bullshit with creating an idea is why it's bad to point out the crimes Croatia did. But by the way, this is their newest argument. Because we've had people going to football matches and waving around the flag of Ustaše Croatia. So you have people being like, this is not the flag of Ustaše, you idiot, because in reality it is the first one, this is the flag of Ustaše, and then this one, the second one, is in reality the flag of independent Croatia that we used in 1990. So people actually waving the proper one, like, it's basically the same. It's basically the same. The only thing different is the little logo. It's basically the same. It's basically the same thing. What are you doing? These people don't know which one they're waving. They just see the first square is white and they're like that. They don't care. They know what they're doing. What are we trying? Come on. Religious means close-minded to something against religious views. I would argue though that that's going into the pedantics of how you would define someone who is open-minded, right? Because is there anywhere a perfectly open-minded person? I would say no. Everyone has their own biases, right? Everyone has an opinion on something. You have some values of yours that you will not allow to get compromised. You are closed-minded in some regard. In some conversation, in some topic, you are not willing to even look at the alternatives. It's just a normal thing. I don't think you can be completely, perfectly open-minded in that regard. And I don't feel like we should be holding religious people to a higher standard as to what we deem as open-mindedness. Like, there's a reason why we have taboo topics in society. Even in secular societies, you have taboo topics that you just can't be talking about. It's like, no one is perfectly open-minded. No society is perfectly open-minded. That's okay. But like, to single out Jews specifically as like, talking about open-minded people, what about Jews? I don't know. It's like, it's creating the idea that Jews are somehow uniquely under the influence of their religious dogmas, which I don't really think is true. No. If the observation result differs from the mathematical expectation by more than 3,000, the result is erroneous. Otherwise, you have to admit the Jews and Swiss are smarter than others, which is racism. Why? That makes no sense. You could just be like, oh yeah, they have more means to conduct certain, I don't know, writing of certain literature, for example. They just have more people who were involved in it to get more Nobel Prizes in that area. They had more people involved in peace activism to get more rewards in that area. Like, the intelligence of a group is not measured by how many Nobel Prizes they have in the first place. We would also need to look at what specific Nobel Prizes they have. But even then, they could just be focused on specific topics a lot more, which makes them more likely to get a Nobel Peace Prize in that. Not just Peace Prize, any, but like, you know what I mean. Like, I'm not really seeing that. Going into Jews specifically, definitely Jesus. Christians are close-minded against butt-fucking. I would argue lots of people are close-minded about butt-fucking. You know, the men are close-minded about butt-fucking, regardless of religion. Not just butt-fucking, butts. Men are close-minded about butts. You know the responses I get when I ask my male friends about why they have never figured out where their prostate is. Because look, if I knew I had it, I would know where it is in the matter of a day. I would know exactly how to reach it. You people just live with it. You know you have a G-spot in your ass. You never try to go and reach that. You're fucking weird. Okay, that's fucking weird. It's such a taboo for you people that you don't even know what it feels like. You're gonna be living with it your entire lives and never going to try and find where it is. You're fucking weirdos, okay? I would know where it is in the matter of 10 minutes. Just goddamn weird. Goddamn weird. Just out of pure curiosity. Out of pure fucking curiosity. And you never get curious because you're so close-minded. Butts. Embarrassing. How many Nobel Peace Prize winners are men? Next time we have this conversation, I'm gonna be like, Nobel Peace Prizes connected to open-mindedness. Well, a lot of the winners are men. And I can make an educated guess that they have never figured out where their prostate is. It's gay to even wash your ass. That too. See, it's like being close-minded. It has nothing to do with your religion. It has everything to do with you being a dude. Western society and pushing this toxic masculinity on men, so you never know how to achieve a proper orgasm. Prostate hide and seek. Dude, curiosity would get the best of me in like a day at most.
Kobura's first edit on Wikipedia was made in 2005. Kobura and their clique were
Kobura.
most definitely far-right ultra-nationalist anti-communists with sympathies for the murderous Ustasha. That's as much
True.
as one can say definitively about their ideology without digging much deeper. When I refer to them as Nazis, fascists, and so on, I do so in a colloquial manner and not in an academic manner. These guys, while sympathetic to the Nazi Party, were not members of the Nazi Party or necessarily adherents of outright German Nazi ideology. Nor do they necessarily fit the academic definition of a fascist. However, they do fit the academic definition of a parafascist, which
Fuck
for
is
the
that?
layman is essentially the same thing. I'm clarifying this because it's a lot easier to call them fascists than far-right ultranationalists veering into
Okay, Russian
parafascist
soldiers
tendencies
are a
every
different
time I
thing.
talk
True,
about
true,
them.
true.
In 2009, the user Kobura was elected for
Isn't it
position
relatively
and
shallow?
by a vote of 24 for, 5 against, and 6 neutral. The top dissenting vote
Isn't
pointed
it
out the
relatively
user's
shallow?
ultranationalism.
I
The
thought
top
prostate
commenter
was
under
close to the
election
entrance.
speculates that the 2 of the dissenting votes are from sock accounts and suggests
I mean,
narrowing
relatively
the right to
close, but
vote
like,
to more
you know
frequent
what I mean.
contributors. It's very funny in retrospect to read the beginnings.
I
of this
thought you don't
fascist
need
coup like
extra
this. In
things
2010,
to
Kobura was
find
found
it.
to have abused his admin tools by blocking a user who had participated in drafting a request for another user to be given global rollback power. This would enable them to
How
roll
deep?
back any article's edits immediately. The user who was nominated for this role was one of the users who had voted against Kobura becoming an admin. Essentially, Kobura was purging people who showed support for their detractors.
Wopal,
This
I
saw the
think that's a
extraordinary
problem.
intervention of a Wikipedia steward by the
Wopal,
name
I think
of
that's a
Austin.
problem.
These are
I think you
essentially
might
global
need
admins
to
who are
use a
only to
doctor.
intervene when local admins aren't able to govern. I'm sure I
think
got
that's
some of that
not
wrong, I'm
normal.
not a Wikipedia nerd. The steward removed Kobura's admin powers as a result of this abuse. A few months later, Kobura's admin position was reinstated by the local government. Again, 5 users spoke up against him receiving the admin tools. Then, in 2013, this all started blowing up in Croatian media and reached international media attention as well. The same year, a user by the name of Tritomex went about trying to clean up the Croatian language article on the Ustasha, which contained a long, unsourced, and frankly fucking hilarious tirade which I will now read a machine translation of. Is the Ustasha movement consciously right-wing, radical, racist, maybe even totalitarian? The answer to that is no. In Croatian society, here and there, as a sign of defiance due to the servile mentality often displayed by official Croatian
where is he
politics,
reading
and
from?
the anti-Croatian machinations of the countries that embody the currently ruling quasi-liberal, manipulative, quote-unquote Masonic globalist states. The ostentatious highlighting of elements of Ustasha iconography appears. The second question is the Ustasha movement actually a radical anti-Serb movement by central habitus? It could be said that the anti-Serb charge is extremely strong in it. As a
See, but
result of
this whole thing. Oh, I love this. I need to find text of this. I'm gonna send it to like every single person in chat when we have stupid conversations about this. This is how you advocate for terrorism. This is him advocating for terrorism. The whole thing with like, well, are we hateful towards everyone? No, not really. Our hatred towards everyone is just a result of oppression that Croatians have suffered through. Do we despise Serbs? No, we don't. We despise Serbs because they have ruled over us for generations. We're not horrible people, but we are horrible people because of this reason, okay? It's actually a very, very useful fucking source. Okay.
of Serbian oppression and domination, supported by the countries of the old Entente. The persistence of the anti-Croatian policy of some Western countries inevitably gives rise to irritation and repressed aggressiveness, but not towards the Serbs as such, but towards the opponents of Croatian independence.
Which happen to
All
be
this
Serbs.
shows that the issue of the alleged problem of Ustaša in Croatian society is actually the problem of the profile and future of societies and countries such as the EU and USA members. Globalization and the exploitative moves of the leading countries, which are often called out, are a real generator of dissatisfaction in societies that have just gotten rid of communism, and it does not occur to them to drown in some kind of new associations, in which they will play a second-class and subservient role. For removing this insane bit of nonsense, Tritomex was blocked by Kabura from making any edits to Croatian Wikipedia. As removing this was clearly the correct course of action, several users took issue with the block and suggested that Kabura and seemingly elements of his inner circle, including users Speedy Gonzalez and Seljiko, be stripped of their administrative tools. This motion seems to have failed on procedural grounds. This was seemingly the last attempt at official dissent towards Kabura's regime. After this, slowly users were purged or demoralized from contributing to Croatian Wikipedia, unless they shared the far-right nationalist parafascist vision for the site that Kabura's inner circle had cultivated. In 2017,
Yep,
4
true,
years
too.
after the fascist
Terrorism okay if it's Ukrainians, nationalists against occupiers? No, I mean, depends. Depends. As long as the damages, as long as the victims are, actual occupiers and not civilians, yeah, actually, I feel most people would be okay with that. I feel most people would see it as a military action in itself, right? Like blowing up Russian commandos balls deep into occupied territories. That's kind of based.
takeover of the
I do think
Wiki and
Ukrainians
garnered
have
media
stayed
attention,
on a
the
very
user Fraxinus nominated
safe
Kabura
side
to be
regarding
promoted
this.
to the role of bureaucrats. Bureaucrats are essentially super admins whose job is to promote and demote administrators. According to the rules for Wikipedia, these bureaucrats are only allowed to take actions that reflect
Blew
the
up
community's
Germans in
wishes.
cinemas
Essentially,
during
they need the
occupation
express
in
consent of the
Poland.
governed. After years of marginalization of any opposition and of constant purges, this was not a problem
Fucking
for
based, though.
Kabura's clique. On August 25th, 2017, Kabura
Fucking
was
based.
unanimously voted to the position of bureaucrat, with 21 votes, 0 votes against and 0 votes neutral. Among the people who chose to rubber stamp the decision were the accounts who many had worked to oust in the years prior, such as Speedy Gonzalez. At this point, Kabura and their inner circle had complete control over what information was added to or removed
Man.
from hundreds of thousands of articles. That was 2017. Let's take a break from the sequence of events and have a look at some of the findings of the report by an external expert
no.
on the matter, published by the Wikimedia
I don't think it's gonna
Foundation.
work.
In terms of impact, the disinformation
I don't think
assessment
knowing
report found that there had been a systematic
what
distortion of facts about individuals
creates
convicted by the
your-
International Criminal
what
Tribunal
creates a
for the
response
former
of
Yugoslavia.
violence
They also found that
is
between
going to
2017 and
change
2020, articles containing nationalist bias
the
were
relationship in
regularly among
society.
the top 30 read entries on the Croatian wiki. The report found that the presence of this biased content in a certain ideological alignment can constitute an organized disinformation campaign, which I think it's fair to say this essentially was. Information from Wikipedia is fed directly into Google's knowledge panel info boxes that appear at the top of the search results. And a study from the University of Osijek, Croatia, found that 54% of undergraduate students regularly use Wikipedia as an educational tool. The report concludes that nationalist bias and disinformation through the Croatian wiki has been influencing the public discourse for the period in which Karuba's regime was in control. Surveys among Croatian high school students shows that they seemingly progressively over the
sweets with
period became a
explosives
little
to
bit less
Aryan
sure whether the
leader? Oh,
so-called
shit.
independent state of Croatia was a fascist puppet state. Though this is not causally related, the fascist capture of Croatian Wikipedia and the pervasive confusion among students are likely symptoms of the same underlying issue in Croatian society. Those being
Okay.
strong racist and ethno-nationalist sentiments and prevailing hardline anti-communism, giving inroads to far-right
Anti-communism
nationalist
based.
myths, and the whitewashing of fascists by nationalists searching for non-communist heroes when constructing the idea of their national identity. Professor Pavicic in 2013 said that much of the Croatian mainstream is dominated by quote-unquote communist nostalgia and
Yeah, it's-
memories
it's-
of an era of
it's quite a
social safety.
dystopian
According
idea
to
of
him,
like,
this is a
oh,
source
you're
of much
angry?
frustration for the right wing, and
You're
I would say this
angry?
probably
Well,
in
we're
part
just going
motivates these
to
movements to lie about
remove the
Croatian
chemicals
history.
that make you
Despite this,
angry.
like pretty much always, the fear of the communists is not proportional to the real power. 10 of 12 Croatian governments between 1991 and 2021 have been led by the center-right nationalist Croatian Democratic Union, which has partial origins in the anti-communist Catholic conservative Croatian
True.
diaspora. So while this caused a stir in Croatian media and likely had an impact on students and others in Croatia, leading possibly to an increase in conspiratorial and far-right thinking, this seemingly hasn't been quantified, at least not yet. One identifiable impact, however, was that it suppressed the passionate and voluntary work of dozens, maybe hundreds, of wonderful Wikipedia contributors.
No, I can see that.
I've been speaking in
Who's
past tense
we,
about the Kabura
Slippers?
regime because Kabura was ousted in 2020 when a user by the name of MJ Lemonsnout, as well as others, compiled a report for Wikimedia requesting that Kabura be globally banned. In
Sturgeon.
2020, a user by the name of Riley ran for election for the role of steward, the global superadmin role
Fun
that
to
can,
fuck so
under
much
strict
with
conditions,
Wikipedia.
intervene
Yeah,
with
now
the
it's
community.
extremely
As a
hard.
steward had intervened in
You do a
2010
little
to
edits,
strip
they
Kabura
see
of
it
her admin
immediately.
roles. Riley did not win their election due to a number of pivotal votes.
I have the
even within
account,
Croatian
actually.
community. It
I
turns
could
out
do
that
some
Riley,
edits,
as
I'm
an
just
admin,
scared
had
to.
been helping support the various threads investigating Kabura's misconduct on the Croatian wiki. Another user by the name of Lasta had previously noticed suspicious conduct among some of these Croatian users. In order to have voting rights on Croatian Wikipedia, you had to make 200 edits and also 50 edits in the last 12 months. These users would show up and make around 50 edits in the span of 1 to 2 hours and then disappear for months. These users also never posted at the same time, and while posting
Wikipedia
in roughly
bots.
the same time span that Kabura would usually post, they also never posted at the same time as Kabura. Lasta created a list of some 90 possible sock puppet accounts run by Kabura. 12 of these voted in Riley's steward election, and had they not, Riley would have won. Lasta also submitted what's called a local check user request for 37 of these accounts, which, if approved, would tell the staff of Croatian Wikipedia to investigate the IP addresses of the users to determine if they're posting from the same place. Every single account immediately stopped posting. One member of Kabura's clique chimed in to the check user request in an attempt to clear Kabura's name, and in so doing accidentally sealed their fate. They posted the findings of a check user on 38 accounts, and while this cleared some of the accounts, it also showed that while 30 of these accounts were posting from different IPs, they were also posting from a single ISP from a single geographical area. Some probability math was run, and apparently the chances of this happening accidentally was 1 in a quintillion. On the basis of this investigation, MJ Lemonsnout and the rest requested that Kabura be globally banned from Wikipedia. Many of those that expressed support for Kabura in this thread were members of his inner circle who had previously voted for his promotions. At this point, only 6 people had ever received a global ban from all Wikimedia
Wait, the fuck
projects.
does that mean? Dude had like, what, several computers that he was making these accounts on? Did he mobilize a small village? Could I do that? Could I just make people in the village? Everyone opens like 10 Wikipedia accounts and makes me have power over the entire fucking Wikipedia? How does this, how?
After this report and investigation, Kabura became the 7th.
Oh, come on. Wikipedia? West-based? No, not really.
Chili Girl za intimnu njegu.
I mean, we could maybe talk about specific. Like, do you have a specific Wikipedia page? It makes you think this. But no, I don't think it's West-based. I don't think it's West-based at all, to be honest. Not really an experience that I've had. I do use Wikipedia in multiple languages. I usually translate to English, but I use it in multiple languages to check how different countries are posting about different politicians that they have. And so far, to be honest, the experiences I've had was that it was all relatively well made and controlled. I don't think there's a strong bias in Wikipedia, not at all.
The expert report on
Like the
incident
thing
essentially-
with, for example, the thing with Croatian Wikipedia defending Ustaše, that would be, for example, one strong example of what I think would be Wikipedia bias. But we controlled that now. We got rid of it. There's a possibility some issues like that are happening in some other country, definitely. But I don't know, so far, to be honest, I found them to be mostly okay-ish. I did find some of the problems, specifically, I remember there was this one woman. How was it? I believe it was it at the time when the invasion just started? I remember there was this one woman who they claimed was supportive of the invasion, and there was no link to where she claimed that she was supportive of the invasion. So I was looking into finding the links, and you had a thing on Wikipedia at the time where like they would have the source thing, and then the source leads you to another source. And they basically had 2 sources leading you to each other. So it was like down in the text it's mentioned that she supported the invasion, and it's like, let's say that's source number 2, right? You click on source number 2, it leads to source number 1. Source number 1 is, oh, she is supportive of invasion. So you just like, there's no link or anything. You just like look at this one. So, you know, shit like that, sometimes you do encounter But usually, no, I haven't found them to be biased. Hassan? Wait, they fucked with Wikipedia to remove Gosano from Slur's page? Ah, makes sense. It's how some people. They're interesting. USA people are interesting. With the amount of importance they give into whether or not something is defined as a slur. Like, even if it's not defined as one, surely you know it's wrong to use it as a personal attack on someone, right? Even if it's not on the slur page. Does it change your mind whether it is listed on the slur page of Wikipedia? What's the importance of that? I don't know. It's a very, very Twitch streamer thing to do.
This entire fiasco
Technically, I'm okay with using this against you because it's not on the Wikipedia slurs page.
Croatian and Serbian language Wikipedia.
I need to start using that as defense.
The creation of these
I'm gonna try to find the worst possible insult, which is not on the page. And then if you dare to get offended, I'll just link you the Wikipedia slur page.
It seems that by removing the leadership of the fascist clique, allowing Croatian Wiki to elect new admins in 2021, adhering to the principles of Wikipedia, the expert report concludes that if the underlying factors that allowed the rise of this fascist group to begin with are not addressed, it may happen again. The three proposed solutions are encouraging the Croatian-speaking community to continue re-establishing a robust local governance system, requesting oversight and support from the rest of Wikimedia as needed. This would require additional checks and monitoring so as to not backslide again. Number 2, encourage the affected communities to discuss unifying community elections for admin and functionary roles across the involved wikis, those being Bosnian, Croatian, Serbian, and Serbo-Croatian. This sort of cross-wiki collaboration has precedence in Arabic language Wikipedia, where in 2020 they set up cross-wiki role accounts operated by a central committee of trusted users under Wikimedia Foundation and steward oversight for their wikis, specifically to address the challenge that ISIS posed to Arabic language Wikipedia. This would maintain the current autonomy of the communities while creating cross-community collaboration, sort of a union of nations of the former Yugoslavia just in the Wikipedia sphere. Number 3, encouraging.
You know that there's a list of slurs by ethnic identity on Wikipedia, and Slobo is there. It's like a Finnish word for Russians, Slobo. It's an almost common Serb name here. Kind of weird to see that. They put some Estonian term that I'm not sure how you read it. They put that, and the definition is it may refer either to ethnic Russians or the Homo Sovieticus, but Homo Sovieticus is not listed as a slur. Risa is listed as a slur. Moskal is a slur, but Moskovit is not. Ruski could be a slur. How does any of this make sense? Risa, it's sort of derogatory. When you say sort, just derogatory enough for it to hit. Okay, that's what matters. West Croatia. There's no proper ones for Croatia. There's nothing on Croatia. Can't even insult Croats properly. There's nothing on Croats. But there's a whole article specifically on slurs against Serbs. Let me show you this. Check this out. A Russian is a Russian even if you fry them in butter. Oh. Oh, this is a different list. I found this list on my phone. Yeah, it's like this, and then look at Serb. There's a main article on it. A whole little thing specifically on Serbs. Contemporary and recent issues. What is this one though? Location or origin? Man, oh, Yugoslavia. Alpine Serb. And it was used as an insult against people of Slovenian origin. Yeah, true. That is true, that is true. They have this thing with like Croatians are Catholic Serbs, and then Slovenians are Alpine Serbs, and everyone is a Serb, you know, in a different way, but everyone is a Serb because it all belongs to Serbia. Hey, talking about Muscles, I saved this video because I haven't seen it before. Yankees accidentally lost a nuclear bomb in Spanish waters.
Вот вы родили сына, он рос, а потом бац, стал алкоголиком, спился.
What?
Вам это надо, мне нет. Или вышел он такой на улицу погулять, и тут бац, его трамвай сбивает. Почему трамвай? Потому что нефиг гулять по путям, наркоман чертов. А вот еще, прикиньте, вырос у вас порядочный сын, получил хорошее образование, завел семью, родили вам внуков, и жил он долго и счастливо, пока не умер. Скука! Не переживайте, я сделал все, чтобы этот ужасный исход не постиг вашего сына. То ли дело отдать свою никчемную жизнь за меня, то есть за родину. Только представьте, идет он такой защищать свою землю на чужой земле, и тот бах, героически подорвался на мине. Только мокрое пятно осталось, героическое мокрое пятно, несомненно. Вот это да, вот это я понимаю, не зря свою никчемную жизнь прожил. Или вот во время исполнения очень важного боевого задания, как прилетит снаряд, да как испепелит героически до румяной корочки. Ну блеск же! Можете не благодарить. И самое главное, всем мамам патриотический пакетик в подарок.
Fair. Fair. Absolutely fair. Actually saw someone questioning it like yesterday as to like why they don't protest currently, because apparently there has been findings of some of the Russian people who have been killed on the front line being 18 years old. Like kids, basically kids, as far as they could push them to go into fighting. They pushed them to go into fighting, and they apparently got very short training because, you know, they were killed very, very quickly. Russian humor is it's unique. It's unique. I happen to be having the misfortune of getting them recommended to me for some reason. It's interesting. But I'm also not really a big fan of anything that they say online, so to be fair. Bro, no, Nazi problem of Ukraine is no more dramatic and no more unique than the Nazi problem of any other of our countries. Okay? Literally, like show me one country in Europe which doesn't have a Nazi problem, even worse than Ukraine does. Far-right Svoboda coalition got like 2% of votes on their elections. I suggested what in my last stream? No, Ukrainians don't hate all the Muslims, but what? Bullshit. They seem to be deeper philosophically driven. It seems. You mean the USSR one with the hedgehog? It's USSR. They were fucking depressed at the time. Every single person. You said it in your last stream. What? I said what? About Palestinians? What? What did I say that made you think Ukrainians hate all the Muslims? That holy shit. What? Oh yeah, I've got no idea what you're talking about. Do you have a clip? I assume you have a clip. I've got no idea what you're talking about. No, like I genuinely have no idea what you're talking about. I would never say that Ukrainians hate Muslims. I don't think Ukrainians hate Muslims. I don't know where you're getting this. You never said it? Yeah, because I don't think it.
You got sent to Siberia.
You're talking about Palestinians? I don't think Ukrainians hate Palestinians either. Okay, I've got genuinely, I have no idea what you're talking about. That's why you have some Crimean Tatars in our parliament. Hey, talking about Crimean Tatars, wait, I have something to show you. You need to see. Zelensky Zelensky, 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 Zelensky. Here it is, here it is, here it is. The leader of Crimean Tatar people. He's a hero of Ukraine. Have you seen it? Have you seen it? Have you seen it? Have you seen it? He turned 80, and he was congratulated by Zelensky and thanked for defending the freedom of Ukraine and Crimean Tatars, and he was awarded the Hero of Ukraine title. Come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. I find it to be really, really cute. But yeah, basically, I don't know what you're talking about when it comes to this. I have never claimed Ukrainians hate Muslims. I have never said anything that would imply Ukrainians hate Muslims. I don't know the shit you're talking about. If you have a clip or something, I would love to see a clip, because I feel context might be interesting to that, but I genuinely have no idea what you're talking about. I don't think Ukrainians discriminate against Jews. I don't think Ukrainians discriminate against Muslims. I just genuinely don't think they're doing discrimination on a religious basis like that at all. Oh, what is that? Putin signed a law on postponing presidential elections during martial law. Oh, of course I did. What a piece of shit. Oh, my dude. Oh, great. Oh, come on. We already have Peskov being like, oh yeah, well, Putin's gonna win anyways. And then the reports in Western media, have you seen them? Who posted this? Fuck, I saw someone post about this just before the stream. Oh, an insider scoop. Putin is going to be running for elections again in 2024. Wow, what a surprise. And now this. Oh, my dude. Yeah, that's still like, what's the point of this? He knows how they would go. What's the point of this, Putin? What's the point? Like, the same amount of people that usually go to vote are gonna vote now. Why you do this? This was actually like unironically stupid though. He didn't even need to sign the law. He could have just not done the election. He could have just not fucking done them. And Russians wouldn't know any better. He'll be like, yeah, Russians elections actually happened. It's just that you weren't invited to come out and vote. And they would be like, oh, same usual. Oh, how fucking stupid is this? What's the point of doing this? He wanted to push attention to this. Why? I need conspiracies. I need conspiracies. Why do this? Oh no, Peskov is saying there's going to be elections. Oh, hey, come on. Only journalists working under an employment contract will be allowed into polling stations. Photography and video recording will be allowed only to persons entitled to do so in accordance with the law. Journalists will be able to gain access to military units only with the approval of the unit commander. I see that. He can increase the volume of mobilization. Yeah, he could just do a thing where like, oh, you're going out to vote, cool. Here's the polling booth, and then when you enter the polling booth, there's like just mobilization notices being handed over. I wouldn't be surprised for a second. Wouldn't be surprised for a fucking second if they actually do something like that. Oh, I love him so much. Wagner group leader? Yeah, Prigozhin. He got exploded. Prigozhin got a little bit exploded. Russians were sad about it for a few minutes, and then they forgot. They forgot. It doesn't come naturally to them, having compassion and strong relationship to their own people. It's not really something they're used to, apparently. Bro, like for a day. Do you guys remember that? I was so salty about it. I remembered it a few days ago. No, I have my broadcasts on YouTube. I don't have them on twitch.tv because I had a copyright strike. But I do have them on YouTube. So yeah, freely go and find the clips there.
Let's say, hypothetically,
All of my previous broadcasts are on YouTube. So yeah, you can easily go there. Russia's never been as close to China as today. Humanitarian aid to Africa is off the chart. Why wouldn't you re-elect this man? True, my dude. True. Good info from my sources. Inside scoop. Oh, I can't believe that. I cannot believe that. I thought this man would be staying for 1 term and 1 term only. What is this? What are these claims that he's going to stay for longer? Impossible. Fuck, I forgot what I wanted to comment on before this dude wrote a little essay about not knowing where to find my VODs. But yeah, they were angry about Prigozhin getting barbecued for like few minutes at most. I remember they had these little posts in which they were like, oh yeah, we're actually going to go outside and march to Moscow right now. You guys remember when there was a conversation about Wagneritz being angry and starting a coup to take over Moscow? And what Wagneritz actually did when their beloved leader got exploded in the sky is they bitched about it and then they forgot. So yeah, it's kind of the same thing they do with basically anything else, I want to say. It's the same thing they do with, you know, literally any loss they have suffered in this war. They bitch for a while and then they forget. Like it never happened. There will be no elections in Ukraine. Ukraine is under Russian invasion. Ukraine is the victim of Russian invasion. It is impossible to hold free and fair elections in a country victim of a foreign invasion. Not holding elections in Ukraine makes absolutely perfect sense. The amount of cash money needed to organize the elections and to organize lobbying and then to organize politicians is fucking ridiculous, not to mention that the transfer of power will just create more complexities. We're talking about a country which has to defend itself against a foreign invasion onto their territory. Had one dude leading them for decades who has chosen to enter a war right now to keep his regime in power. Ukraine did not choose to be in this. Ukraine has to fight because the only alternative to Ukraine fighting is Ukraine getting completely destroyed as a nation. They don't have a choice. Yeah, they're absolutely... It's not even just about them shelling the polling stations. The thing is that they will absolutely be able to pressure Ukrainians into voting in a way to make them, how do I say it? In a way to make them terrified of Russian response. This is not going to be free and fair. You can't make this free and fair, right? You can open all the polling stations, even if you like try to create some sort of a dome over the parts of Ukraine that we got under control. You think Russians aren't going to butcher every single Ukrainian they have on occupied territories if a pro-Western person wins these fucking elections? They're already killing them left and right. They're already killing the prisoners of war left and right. You think they won't do it even more if they get angry at Ukraine picking someone that Russia dislikes? It's impossible to have free and fair elections in Ukraine right now because Ukraine is a victim of Russian invasion. Elections are actively discussed there? Oh shit, I hope you don't do it. Man, I like democracy and everything, yeah, GG, but bro, how the fuck are you gonna do lobbying? How the fuck are you gonna do campaigning? You know how much cash money it takes for that shit? Not to mention organizing the elections themselves, organizing the polling stations, organizing the security of mentioned polling stations. Good luck. Good luck, good luck. If Ukrainian society wants it, of course, I think Ukrainians should be the ones making up their minds on this. I think it would be a stupid ass fucking decision. If occupied areas have any sort of voting, they will not be able to vote for anyone. They will be granted the right to maybe learn about how they voted like a week later. In the same way it happened with the referendum. You remember the referendum? It doesn't matter if you went out to referendum or if you didn't go out to referendum. Russia already had all of the results before the referendum was even done. They're gonna do that when it comes to voting in presidential elections too. Wants to use the situation to be re-elected without questions. I feel... Here's a problem. I feel that could be both acceptable and bad. In a way, we could see it in a bad light, because if a man wants to be hoarding the power, of course this is extremely dangerous. You should not allow your politicians to hoard power. You allow it once, you allow it 2 times, they become too strong, it's very hard to get rid of them, okay? We're seeing that with Orban, we're seeing that with Erdogan, we're seeing that with Putin, we're seeing that with Lukashenko. You allow them 1 time to grab the power that they're not supposed to grab, you're already losing the democratic status of your society. Now, another thing is, I think it would be smart for him to get re-elected. I think that's the most positive outcome of elections that could happen. Basically, as if elections didn't happen at all. A transfer of power is gonna be fucking hard. Replacing the members of team leading Ukraine right now is gonna be fucking hard, my dude. This switch would be very hard. No, as of our volunteers, they are not a inherently Nazi battalion. They are volunteers. They did have members who are extremists, absolutely, of course they did. They are nationalists. But like to pretend like a problem of Azov is somehow this dramatic to Ukrainian society. They were fucking volunteers defending Ukraine against the Russian invaders. Azov never went into foreign lands. Azov never went to go and occupy foreign lands. Azov never went to butcher Russian civilians. Azov was defending against attacks. The fact you're being so dramatic over this thing of like a bunch of volunteers banding up to fight against Girkin's troops, Russisch troops. Who do you think Russisch were, you bitch? Russisch were the fucking Nazis. A leader of Russisch openly calling himself a fucking Nazi. He was a hero of Russia. After 2014, when they did the invasion into eastern Ukraine, he was the hero of Russia. You could go into Russia and you could take fucking pictures with the man whenever he was visiting. So the fact that right now, what we had in Ukraine in 2014 was, hey, Russians are invading eastern Ukraine. Ukrainians formed a volunteer battalion to fight against this, and you're like, oh, Ukrainians bad, bad, bad. You bad, bad, bad for not picking better volunteers to defend you against being butchered? How fucking stupid are you? By the way, I'm still waiting for the fucking clip. Yeah, occupied regions, though the argument on occupied regions being unable to participate is the argument that was used against the last few elections that Ukraine has had, so that's also important. Hamas Abi can suck a cock. What a dumbass dude. Hey, this is big, by the way, this is big, this is big, this is big. So this is big. First blood transfusion that they managed to do. Big, 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 big. A huge thing. And the man has survived. When I saw it, when I saw them talking about this, the man survived and the man is okay. So, ha 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 ha. Sir, I'm Twitch streaming. I'm Twitch streaming. If you think Twitch streaming and politics are interchangeable terms, I don't even know what to tell you. Like, I genuinely don't even know what to tell you. My man's on Twitch like, oh, well, if you were my representative in the parliament, I would see you as being a little bit too emotional. We're on a purple website, my dude. But this is the Western brain rot. Ironically, I want to be bitching about you now. This is the Western brain rot. You people genuinely see Hassan sitting on his ass watching some anime on his show and you think that's politics. That's why you think this is politics. You think this is the extent of what I do when it comes to politics, isn't it that? You're like, oh yeah, this girl doing Twitch streaming, yeah, that's politics. She's politics. She's doing politics right now. Look at this politician. Measles incidence in Russia jumps. What was it? Oh wait, actually, it's actually like 22,000. What? Man. Fair. Incidence of other vaccine-preventable diseases is increasing. Whooping cough infections increased by 1,096%. Chickenpox. Oh, the sharp increase is associated with interruptions in the supply of vaccines that began in the spring of 2023. Since the measles infection is very contagious and upon contact with it, all unvaccinated people become ill, 40 of infection began to appear in Russia, where the existing stocks of vaccines were initially thrown. And then this was aggravated by coronavirus pandemic. Man. And also the failure in the Ministry of Health's planning. Hamasabi was based. Hamasabi? Excuse me. There is There was one time I looked at Hassan and I was like, he's kind of based on this. What was it? Oh, he had a speech once. In which he talked about how, I think it was about how Turkish people brought good food to the Western Europe. Oh, that was actually based. I remember that. I remember that. Yeah. That was actually based. That was one of the things I heard him say, and I was like, yep. Good man. Apparently from that, I would argue it is true. But that's because I discriminate against Germans and their white sausages. Have you seen the white sausages? Like, Germans have these disgusting white sausages. These Frenchies have frog legs. Okay, that's true. If you want to go into the actual origin of the food, we could have fights over who it actually belongs to. That's true. But you know, they brought good food to the Western Europe. No, Nazi party, no. First of all, justifying a Nazi party existing in Ukraine is a different thing than justifying a volunteer battalion existing in Ukraine. Azov is not a party, as in like political party. If you talk about politics of Ukraine, you're talking about, I assume, Svoboda, which was a right-wing coalition that they had going on elections, which, by the way, again, I repeat, they got 2% of votes. If we use these standards that you apply to Ukrainians, to literally any other nation, most European nations would be the ones that you would be okay with getting genocided. You know, obviously, my dude, this isn't really a standard that is realistic to apply when it comes to nations suffering a foreign invasion and genocide attempt. I am justifying the existence of a volunteer battalion in Ukraine when they got invaded. And I understand that a lot of members of Azov indeed were nationalists. I think it's expected. When we got invaded in 1990s, our volunteers were also nationalistic. It's what happens when your country gets invaded by a foreign power. The people first willing to give their lives on the front line are going to be nationalists. It's absolutely expected, especially when it comes to a country which at the time was controlled quite a lot by Western powers, in the same way we were and in the same way Ukraine was in 2014, right? You don't really get aid, you don't really get proper weapons. It was even worse in our situation because our nationalists had access to black markets where they could illegally get weapons, which then they brought to which then they brought to countries where they, ran away to, which is why, in big part, why you have the current Swedish crime rate. But yeah, I absolutely think it's expectable that a nationalistic group of volunteers is going to band together to defend their lands. So, yep, you can resist occupiers without having a Nazi ideology. Of course you can. I have never said you can't. I have said that Azov is not an inherently Nazi group which I stand behind. They are nationalistic. Do they have some extremists there? Yeah. Was a requirement to join Azov to be a Nazi? No, my dude. It makes no sense. What? What's the difference? What are you talking about? Yeah, there's a YouTube one at the same time because Twitch doesn't save my VODs because I got a copyright strike. We got copyright for, I don't know, it was like a bunch of songs that we were playing at one stream. So we got a copyright. Why do they... some members of Azov are extremists and they use Nazi symbols. Yes, Azov as a group itself, what they're doing is defending against the invader. That's the point of existing of a group. They're not pushing for political goals. Like you say, de-Azov, as if Azov was one group with one specified ideology. That is not what they are. Yeah, I don't understand what your question is. What do you mean aside from religion? What? You already wrote that before. And it was like, apart from religion, explain please what's the difference. The difference between who? The difference between who? Dublinsky? Oh.
Лишили меня окончательно связи с вами. Я попрошу вот это сообщение, под которым я записываю ваше видео для вас, максимально репостнуть Такеру Карлсону в личку, в социальные сети, для того, чтобы он его увидел и отреагировал. Нам же надо их победить. Победить мы кто? Можем совместно...
Hassan, you reagas. I don't know, like, dudes, if you understand what he's asking, let me know.
Не лишили меня окончательно связи с вами. Я попрошу вот это сообщение, под которым я записываю.
Which question? Apart from religion? Where was religion even mentioned in our conversation on this? What are you talking about?
Нам же надо их победить. Победить мы кто? Можем совместными усилиями, раскрыв Ugly Truth. И да, друзья, пока не...
Like, you're making no sense.
Связи с вами. Я попрошу вот это сообщение, под которым я записываю.
Yeah, your question makes no sense. That's what I'm telling you. Your question makes no sense. I don't know what you're asking. I legit have no idea what the question is. Apart from religion, what's the difference? The difference between what? The difference between which two groups? Who are we comparing based on their supposed religious views? What?
Ваше видео для вас, максимально репостнуть Такеру Карлсону в личку, в социальные сети, для того, чтобы он его...
My man's being like, the question is there in plain English and there's no proper question.
Можем совместными усилиями, раскрыв Ugly Truth.
Yeah, what do you mean aside from religion? When did I use religion? What?
Связи с вами. Я попрошу вот это сообщение, под которым я записываю ваше видео для вас, максимально репостнуть.
I got no idea what you want.
В личку, в социальные сети, для того, чтобы он его увидел.
Very day of invasion, BBC were showing reportage about Azov. I'm a dude. Western news were horrible on this. They were horrible on this.
Связи с вами. Я попрошу вот это сообщение, под которым я записываю ваше видео для вас, максимально репостнуть Такеру Карлсону в личку, социальные сети для того, чтобы он его...
What? What's the difference? Between who? Between which two groups, my dude? What are you not understanding? What do you mean, what's the difference?
Пока не лишили меня окончательно связи с вами.
Which two groups are we comparing in the first place? I guess. Hey, it might be Slav actually, now that I think about it. We haven't seen him in a while. I kind of missed him. Hasn't been around in a while to remind me of his bullshit. That's true, that's true, that's true. What's the question? I got no idea. That's the entirety of the problem. I have no idea. I genuinely don't know. Never switch to YouTube, guys. Never switch to YouTube streaming. Okay, trust me. It's not worth it. Doesn't help. Between Hamas and Azov, aside from religion, Hamas went into Israel and butchered a bunch of Israeli civilians. Hamas went into Israel and butchered a bunch of civilians, my dude. When the fuck did Azov do that? When the fuck did Azov do that? You guys know that video of fuck, did you guys watch Gumball, The Amazing World of Gumball? It reminds me of that. It reminds me of that. There's a episode of Gumball when they're basically having a beef with another school. Fuck, wait, I need to show it to you. Just reminded me of it with that you lose part. We win. You lose. I know exactly the character. I don't know what's the name of the character. Gonna find it one day. Gonna find it one day. Amazing cartoon, by the way. Go and watch it. Oh, but it was this one. Tennis match. Tennis match. Tennis match. Tennis match. What? You think Ukrainians opened fire on their own civilians? Where do you have evidence of that? I want a clip. I want a clip. Where do you have evidence of Azov opening fire on their own? I want proof. Oh, this one. This one. This is it. Gonna be Russia today. Bro, fucking Azov. Azov never did an invasion into Russian territory.
After the rain, or the first footstep in newly laid snow. But if we're not hardcore, did you not understand? If you're so...
This one.
Altercation with some of my students yesterday.
Yeah, we did. They came out of nowhere and tried to start a fight with us.
Well, I just wanted to say that if that situation ever happens again...
You will lose and they will win. And you'll be like, and they'll be like,
what's the matter, you
that one.
scared little piggy? Yeah, you're a fully grown man screaming at us, and if you continue, I'm gonna call the police.
just what I'd expect from a couple of cowards like you. Who's the hardcore one now?
You, I guess.
No. Wait. Not calling for violence against Russian civilians, okay? Not calling for violence against civilians. I'm actually quite happy with the fact that Ukraine is standing on the proper side of history. I'm happy Ukrainians are doing the morally proper route right now with treating prisoners of war properly and, you know, just being a proper side in this situation. But yeah. Oh, I said civilians. Because my argument is specifically Azov never went into Russia to kill a bunch of civilians there. Specifically. That's a big difference between them and Hamas. Hamas did a terrorist attack onto the land of Israel in which they have killed a bunch of civilians. That's the problem with the mentioned terrorist attack. If they just went in and like destroyed a bunch of military posts, it would be a different thing. Azov murdered? Yeah, I've asked you for evidence of it. Show me the proof. Show me the evidence of your claim that Azov killed their own people. I want to see it. Don't think. Nazis? Is the actual Nazis? During World War II? What are you talking about? Moment strike. But yeah, hey guys, by the way, 12:12, we have time for one short video. And I'll be having to leave relatively soonish. I'll be having to go relatively quickly because I'm having work soon. It's not gaslighting. You just genuinely don't have any evidence of this. You said this already previously, that Azov shelled their own civilians, and you didn't prove it. I am making you question your own sanity. That's true. It's not gaslighting. That's not what gaslighting is, my dude. That's what understanding you're fucking insane is. That's what it is. Yeah, because I didn't understand the question. In big part because you switched fucking accounts in the middle of asking. I was reading the questions of your YouTube account in which no question was properly asked. You expected me to know it was you on YouTube and you on Twitch when you don't even use the same username? You think I care about random ass chatters that much? You think I was supposed to, like, what? Go and figure it out? Yeah, they have the right to ban you. You're not proving any single thing you're claiming. They have the right to ban you. I'm gonna ban you from YouTube too, possibly. Like, you're not offering a single piece of evidence. You keep on claiming Azov was killing Ukrainian civilians. You don't have a single piece of evidence for that. I'm not sure why you're even, like, attempting to argue this without offering evidence that we asked for. Neither are you. For what? What do I need to prove? What claim did I make that you need to find evidence for? Notorious group that dig up Azov Sea and forcefully relocated Russian civilians that were living there. Fucking cruel. Oh, fucking cruel. I knew it. I knew it. A horrible, horrible, horrible thing, is it not? No censorship in Russia. LGBT rights are protected by the constitution and foreign agents are not deprived of rights. That's exactly the way it is, and American combat mosquitoes are flying from Ukraine and attacking the most honest Russians. Shit, remember the combat mosquitoes? I remember that.
В составе полученных нами документов содержится описание проекта Flu-Flyway EP-781 по изучению возможности распространения опасных инфекций через мигрирующих птиц, в том числе высокопатогенного гриппа и болезни Ньюкасла, и летучих мышей, в том числе способных инфицировать человека возбудители чумы, лептоспироза, бруцеллеза, а также коронавирусов и филовирусов, которые могут рассматриваться в качестве средств доставки. Пространственный охват обоих проектов фактически включал не только приграничные с Россией и украинские регионы, но и территорию самой России. В соответствии с описанием, такой беспилотник транспортирует в заданный район контейнер с большим количеством комаров, переносчиков инфекции,
Hello, how are you doing? I have to end the stream soonish, so you came at the end. I'm going to work. I'm going to work in a few minutes.
Будет не способен выполнять поставленные перед ним задачи.
Got rabies from Batman? Oh shit. He bit you? Oh, nice.
Инструментом, чем самые современные вооружения военной техники.
Nice. Raw. The fuck is this? Ah, okay, fair. I'm like, Batman, kinky. Hey, though, I genuinely have to leave. My ride's gonna be here in like 10 minutes approximately. I have to be running, I have to be going, okay? I have to be escaping this. So listen, stream tomorrow, same time as today. And I'm hoping to actually like finish my thing on the news for tomorrow, because I've got a lot of news to save. I have a whole like list that I have compiled yesterday before sleep, and then I went to sleep. World War III. I think we have a chance still to divert it. Hopefully. Hey! I think we have a chance to divert it, but I do think we are dealing with the Russian threat a bit softly. A bit softly. So I think if we actually grow some balls and we manage to properly fix the current situation, I think we may be escaping World War III. I think if we continue to act castrated, we are not going to escape World War III. That's it, basically, that's it. Morning. Tomorrow stream in the morning, and then the late after also in the morning, because I work afternoon shift right now, okay? So morning, and then we will see on Friday. On Friday, I'm not entirely sure which shift I'm working. Possibly morning, actually. Possibly morning, but not still sure. So I will be seeing you then. I will have to run now, because my ride's gonna be here in like every second, and then she's gonna have to wait outside. So yeah, stay strong, stay healthy. That was a weird little conversation, but okay, fair enough. If you have some clips of mine you would like to be discussing on the next stream, may I tell you that I use the same username here as I do use on YouTube, so if you need to clip something and then have a little conversation about it, feel free to go to YouTube and to find it.
Let's say, hypothetically, you got sent to Syria.
See ya tomorrow, guys. Stay strong, drink water, and go support Dylan, because he needs money. My man needs